Creative new live broadcast. Okay. What's up, Vanish? Hi, Hopper. Hi, Boss Clips. All right. Let me get the chat going. Hang tight. Okay. There we go. And let me open up YouTube as well. Hang tight. Stream. All right. Here's the stream. And I'll pull up my hot takes list. What is happening? You are not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming? Huh? Why is it saying that? That's weird. It says nice headset. Thank you, Boss Clips. It says I'm not getting like a good... Oh, okay. Just got to delete System 32. Yeah, no problem. Thanks, buddy. Let me pull up my hot takes list. Just have that up. Usually people like to argue with me on this one. So we're going to do a quick invite here. I'm going to copy that link and I'll post my hot takes list right here. And I appreciate y'all, for pulling up the live stream. It does help. I know it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but, every bit counts. Anyway, let's go ahead and have our debate. Does anybody want to step up? Is there anybody at all that wants to have a quick debate? If not, I'm going to just play a little bit of Chrono Trigger. Until we get a contender. So I actually had to turn off this game earlier because I couldn't get to like the save point in time, and it was just driving me nuts. And I kind of just started in the area, so I had to just turn it off. So we're probably going to see a little bit of repeat gameplay from last time. But yeah. Can I pass through that? No, can't pass through that. So do I just hit this? Okay. Oh my goodness. I still don't know exactly how to kill these things other than just kind of whack at them. From Pole Boy, Aloha Kaku. What does that mean in Hawaiian? Is that also Hawaiian? Grand Zohar says, what are we doing here? Yes, so right now is a current open stage to anybody who wants to debate a Democrat. I'm the Democrat. I am 1stAmender. Good to talk to you. If you have a particular debate that you would like to debate, all you got to do is raise your hand. I've already listed my hot takes list. I'll go ahead and post it in side chat in case anybody who has not seen it. The hot takes list will tell you, what exactly it is that I believe. But, it says you cannot see my stream on stage. No. That's my problem, actually. I forgot to stream my screen. I'm not going to stream the system audio because there may be some feedback, weirdly. Anyway. Laser spin. Will this do something? Do something. Just, can we, like, hit something? What did that just do? I looked away. Did that damage anything? Like... Maybe I should have it with the system audio. Here. I'll do it with the system audio and let's see what happens, okay? I'll do it with the system audio. Hang tight. Let's see. Screen 2. Enable the system audio. Okay, yeah. All right. So maybe, I don't know if it's going to have some weird feedback, but hopefully that's okay. Yeah, I think you just have to hit them and just deal like no damage. It's so weird. So you can see the hot takes list that I listed. I actually have a couple of extra hot takes that I threw in there. I deleted some. If I deleted a hot take and you like expected to see a particular hot take, the probability is I just don't defend that position anymore, right? More evidence comes into light where I come to the conclusion that, okay, this is not a good take to have, right? And so, if you see it disappear, you probably won a debate at some point against me. But I do have a couple of new ones that I think are really interesting. They're the bottom two ones, which is one, you do not have a human right to a house or living alone. Mind you, right? What I did not say was home, right? I'm not saying that a person doesn't have a right to basic shelter, right? That's not my take, okay? Read it very carefully. It says, you do not have a human right to a house or living alone. So it's a very, very specific thing that I'm trying to say there. I personally believe that when it comes to like any society, there's like limited, goods and services, and one of the goods that are or needs that are limited is houses, right? Not everybody gets to live in a nice house, right? Po Boy says, I don't know what I'd debate you on. Probably something Hawaii related. Why can't I have a right to a house or living alone, though? Yes. So if you're just starting out, don't get yourself a house. You do not get to live on your own, most likely, unless if you have the capital necessary to actually do that. But it's kind of silly to like assume that you're just going to live that super high quality of living standard when you really haven't shown anything in society to even deserve something like that. So like, more than likely, and is going to be more probable, is get yourself a roommate and go find an apartment to live somewhere, right? Build up your savings, get yourself like a down payment, and then get yourself your house, right? Like you don't need to live, I have no idea why people like think that it's like okay to just like live on your own. That wasn't even common in the 70s. Most people didn't live on their own. They usually had somebody who also made money. Anyway, looks like we got Jonat who would like to join. Jonat, you are being requested to speak. What would you like to talk about?
Hello. I was looking over your list of hot takes,
Sure, what you got?
and there was one that it's not necessarily a debate that I wanted to have, it's just a series of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, at 29, you say that all religions are nonsense. So,
Yes.
what exactly do you mean by this?
They are made up atavisms that are left over from, older societies. None of them can be empirically shown to be true or work in any way without effectively like just doing some weird stuff with your brain. It doesn't actually impact reality in any way outside of your immense consciousness. So I just don't, it's just all nonsense to me.
But don't you believe... So the societies, you're saying that they're left over, essentially ideologies from bygone societies.
Mm-hmm.
Did they not serve some purpose to those societies at one time or another?
Well, the purpose in society that I can see is that it builds community, but I feel like there's like dozens and dozens of things that I can think of that builds communities, that doesn't require subjugation of people, for example, be it women, minorities, foreigners, gay people, trans people.
But I don't believe that all religions espouse those tenets,
Okay.
for instance.
So what religion do you find to be true?
No, but it's more about if we're talking about moral frameworks. And so, from what I gather, from your perspective, the issues with the moral frameworks of some religions are oppression. Is that right?
Well, it's not just oppression. It's the fact that you're abiding by something that can't be empirically shown to be true, and you are framing your entire life around the thing that cannot be empirically shown to be true.
But I believe that if you hold a value and your peer group hold that value to be true, is that not enough to be established as a locally empirically true?
Can you repeat that? That didn't make any sense to me.
So let's say you have a tribal group that holds certain values to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't to each and every member, if they all hold it to be true, isn't it then established within that local group?
So it's established within that local group. Does that make it true?
To them it is. And what I'm trying to get at
would you say it's
is
true then?
So it doesn't matter from my perspective whether it's true. It's more that those rules if they establish a rule to be a rule, then that rule defines their society.
Okay, but then if it's not true, then that would make it a worse off society.
But what I'm saying is that truth is subjective.
No.
So for the Aztecs, the truth and the rules that led them to human sacrifice, they believed that to be true.
Yeah.
And there are many things.
And then they're killing innocent
comparatively
lives to make that the case.
Of course, but in our society, there are many things that we hold to be true as well. But I think that in, say, 20 years, 30 years, we will be shown to be wrong.
Yes.
So I think for me that the idea that I'm trying to explain or get at is that I think ideas aren't set in stone, but they're a vehicle to get you from A to B.
Do you believe that there is an underlying truth that is beyond like human perception?
I think that no, human truth is communally established. If I publish a paper in a scientific journal and 100 other people say this is a good thing, then it starts to become established as true. Truth is based upon...
Let me ask you this. Would you say that the Pythagorean theorem holds true? Does that hold true to you?
So, for observable factors, such as colors, mathematics, this is something that's very easy to universally coalesce upon. So we can all say that the sky is blue. We can all say that tree leaves are green. But when it comes to, say, human emotions and values, that's when it becomes more of a subjective thing.
You said that truth was subjective, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm giving you an example of an objective truth, which is the Pythagorean theorem. You said that it's a lot easier to determine the objectivity of this, so you are conceding that there is in fact objective truth.
No, what I'm saying is that there are some values that are observable beyond and the fact that these objects or concepts are observable by everyone.
Is the Pythagorean theorem objective?
So we're building upon. So I want to establish the foundation of my argument in that I believe that that truth is communally established by people, and that's easy for and it's easy for people to say that the sky is blue, because that's not arguable. It's not something that can be argued because it's observable. The same with mathematics. It's observable. Therefore, it's hard to argue that. Therefore, truth is subjective, but the fact that it's so hard for us, well, it's observable, so it's not something that will be argued by the tribe. The things that get argued by our community are things more emotional in nature.
You're saying that truth is subjective.
Yes.
You realize I'm stuck on that, right? But you just explained how things can be objective. There are truths that are objective, right?
So the foundation of my argument is that if everyone accepts something to be true, then it becomes true.
No, it doesn't require a single person to observe whether or not that the Pythagorean theorem is true. The Pythagorean theorem holds true because we live in a Euclidean universe. The Euclidean universe and the discussion of what the Pythagorean theorem is describing some underlying truth that is there independent of humans. For example, if we looked at like the diameter of Jupiter. Jupiter is much older than the human race, but we know that the diameter of Jupiter is, X, whatever it is. Okay. And it doesn't matter if a human is there to perceive it or not. It's still that.
Sure. It comes back to that the saying that if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to see it, does it happen?
Yes.
And
well, it depends on what you describe as sound. If you're describing sound as like the vibrations of air molecules that would be perceived as sound, the answer is yes. It is doing exactly that. It doesn't require a person to observe it in order for that to be the case.
So it's getting away from me, but essentially
I just need you to concede that there is objective truth.
There are observable factors that everyone can agree on.
No, it is beyond observation. I've explained how.
From an omniscient point of view, yes, there are certain truths, and there are universal truths. But from a human perspective, I'm saying that humans are not omniscient. Humans don't know everything. It does not require
humans to observe these facts. We discover the facts. I suppose like the concept of discovery of the facts is a human perspective, but the point is that we didn't invent those. Like we didn't invent the Pythagorean theorem. We use tools to recognize some universal truth, such as a Euclidean universe.
So, okay, so I guess this is where we diverge. I don't like to say the phrase agree to disagree, but I think this is the diverging point in our arguments.
But this isn't really something that's like controvertible. I'm literally simply saying that there's like an underlying truth that we discover and that it exists, right? And then we can discover that truth through our observation, right? And you were saying earlier that that's not the case, but then you said, wait, I do actually agree with it, that there's like an underlying truth. So what is it? What is your argument?
Well, I'm saying that human societies, in taking it back to religion, that we build our moral frameworks upon shared values.
Yes.
And those shared values are something that everyone in the society kind of accepts.
Yes.
We all accept that slavery is bad. But
well, unless you don't. There are certain societies that are perfectly okay with slavery. In fact, for a large majority of Christianity and Islam, they were perfectly okay with slavery. In fact, there's some societies currently in Islam where they do permit slavery.
And in those societies, the truths they hold to be true would be different to the truths we hold to be true.
What? That didn't make it.
Sorry.
That went over my head.
So their moral reality is different to ours.
Yes.
And they don't do it
But that's like a
Because-
question as to. Sorry, go ahead.
And they don't do that out of they don't in their hearts feel bad about what they're doing. I don't think so, at least.
What do you think the term? Let me just ask you just straight up. What do you think the term objective means?
Universal, and yeah, universal.
Just universal, nothing else.
Well, essentially, a universal thing that holds true in all cases.
So, just pulling up Google, it says that its objective is not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
Right. So the diameter of Jupiter
So that's universal.
is
That's objective.
Yeah, correct. It's objective. Now, morals, okay, now that's up to someone's feelings or opinions. That's the part where it becomes subjective. Yes.
Yeah. But in order to kind of perceive that, so it goes back to so my argument of observable things are easy to agree upon and easier to become truth because everyone can
What
observe
is
them.
easier to agree upon?
Observable truths, mathematics, the diameter of Jupiter.
Well, no, it's not really a matter of agreement. It's either you're right or you're wrong, right? Because like we can observe the diameter of Jupiter on the basis of parallax that can be measuring the exact diameter, and then based on the parallax as well as known objects that go in between mixed with the parallax of that can determine exactly how big it is. We can mathematically determine that's how big it is. That is not it's not up for a debate as to what the diameter of Jupiter is. You're either right or you're wrong on this topic.
Of course, using, say, parallax, you can determine those things, and we can know them. But a different society and a different environmental context, they might try and frame it as Earth is at the center of the universe or the solar system.
Well, that's just false. It's just wrong.
And it's wrong and false, but because in their environmental context, enough of them held it to be true.
Okay,
it became a
but
truth
number of
for them.
people thinking something is true doesn't mean it's true. That's not how truth works.
So this is where we disagree. I think if in a room or in an area, if everyone that exists in your area believes something, then that becomes a reality for you.
I understand it becomes that reality, but that still means it's false. Let's say you got I don't know, we got every single flat earther, right, into like a commune or whatever, right? They're now in a community, and you're the only globe earther. Is the Earth now flat?
So the rules, if they made it, say, a punishment, if you said that the Earth was not flat, and you would be punished for doing that. So I stand up and say, oh, the Earth is not flat, and they punish me. It doesn't matter necessarily what I believe, it's that my approach, I'm going to get thrown out, punished, and exiled from this community.
Now that you're in jail and you're punished, is the Earth flat?
So no, it wouldn't be flat.
Okay, so
but
the idea of like talking about like a group of people and the fact they believe a specific thing and the fact that you put in jail into it doesn't mean that it's now flat.
But to take the commune example a bit further, it's children born into that context. That will be their reality.
I understand that. That doesn't make it
And
any
as
less
the
true.
society-
It makes it false. It's still false. It doesn't matter how. The
No,
point that I'm trying to make to you is that no matter how many people you bring into this, it still means it's false.
Of course, but that you have to come.
So there's
from
an underlying truth.
It's an underlying truth from a more enlightened perspective, but not enlightenment is not.
That doesn't matter.
Overcome.
It's still an underlying truth.
But that doesn't matter to that commune.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have 100,000 people, 1,000,000 people, 1,000,000,000 people. It doesn't matter. The point is that the way that I determine something to be real versus false is going to be whether or not that it actually like has any predictability behind it, right? How many times do we see like religious people claiming like some weird doomsaying thing, right? It's been 2,000 years since like Jesus's death. Where's the rapture? Where did it come? For example.
So I think to get kind of round to, is religion nonsense or not? I think that religion touches upon quite primal and intrinsic parts of our psyche.
Why not go for things that actually show empirically to be true as opposed to false?
Yeah, but to deny that those emotional frameworks don't apply to everyone,
well, I'm not denying it, right? I'm not denying that people believe a thing. I'm also not denying that there is religion that creates community and puts it together. I understand that.
So the nonsense part is that it's not
empirically true. It can't be shown in any semblance. We have no instance where God has influenced any matter. It doesn't exist. All forces can be entirely explained entirely through natural means. Every single one of them, right? So if there's a miracle or something, or there's like an ether where it can like break the second law of thermodynamics, I'm sorry, not the second law of thermodynamics, the law of conservation of matter, I await with bated breath.
So the issue with that argument that I take is that you're taking logical guns to an emotional fight. And so you and so in this environment, if we're to debate the kind of logical aspect, it's missing the emotional picture that if you were to sit down with a hardcore Christian or an Islamist, your logical arguments and they would not connect with their emotional reality. And so I'm saying that in order to engage with these people and meet on common ground, you have to take into account the fact that their reality of their moral framework is purely emotional.
That's correct.
So to say that
it's not based on logic.
No, but to say that someone's wrong, you have to beat them at their emotional game. You can't just
No, but you came in saying that it was all subjective, but it's not. And then I'm bringing up the logical basis behind it and how it makes no sense. And you then say, well, you got to put into their emotions. But my original point was that all religions are nonsense. Which that would be true based on what you just said.
No, so all religions, this is not. So when I said, so this comes back to the flat earther commune. If you were to try and reason those people out of their position, I don't think logical tools would work. I've talked to many flat earthers. That logical tools are not what you need to fix their perspective.
I understand.
It's their perspective is completely emotional. And so only by addressing their emotional reality. You're just making
an argument in rhetoric, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with rhetoric. It's just not my style. And this isn't an argument against that all religions are nonsense.
So, sorry, what was that? Could you say that a bit more clearly?
So, you saying, you making that argument doesn't do anything to refute that all religions are nonsense, right? You're just making an argument in favor of rhetoric, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with rhetoric, but that doesn't really disprove my point that all religions are nonsense.
So my fundamental issue is not is that saying the statement of religions are nonsense. The people who are, that doesn't convince anyone, I don't think.
Yeah, again, you're bringing up rhetoric.
Yeah.
But that's not, I'm not concerned with the rhetoric. What I'm just
Okay.
telling you religions are nonsense. Do you have anything to disprove that?
No.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, I think that religions are an emotional framework that connect with people,
I
and
see.
they're ubiquitous. They're all over. But yeah.
Poe Boy says science is nonsense does not mean it is not true. No, science is not nonsense. In fact, the fact that you make a statement like that from a computer is intensely ironic. But you got anything else for me, man?
No, that was the main
Okay.
the main point of conversation, I
It's
suppose.
good talk. I'll likely
thank you very
have your video if we put your video up, you'll get a ping. Okay.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so that was God is nonsense, or I'm sorry, all religions are nonsense. So we got somebody else here who has their hand up, and so we're going to go ahead and bring them in. We're going to bring in Gran Zohar. Gran Zohar, you're welcome to come on up.
Hello. Are you able to hear me correctly?
How you doing, Gran?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. What did you want to debate about?
Um, well, actually, I was like about to like debate you about like the previous topic that you were talking about with Jonathan, I think, but
Sure.
not necessarily on like whether or like it's objectively true or not. I'm just like you to like understand like what do you mean like do you see that the entirety of like all religions are nonsense, or like do you see some components which are like more compatible with our modern life?
So what I mean by all religions are nonsense is that none of them can be shown to be empirically true in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't actually influence reality in any way. I may as well be talking about Harry Potter, or the Sneeches versus the Snooches, or Gandalf showing up at my door. It's about the same value as that.
Okay, so you talking it more from like an perspective of whether or not we can like view it empirically or not. But do you not see that some religions might have like some interesting philosophies or or like aspects of approaching life?
Oh, I find all religions to be fascinating. They're really
Okay, so
fun.
you
They're really interesting to look at. But that's a very different claim to make, right? Compared to whether or not that they're real.
Okay, I was like just a little bit more confused on whether you would like talking like from an actual objective reality, or like from a just it's unfalsifiable, therefore it shouldn't be taken as like seriously
Hmm?
or as in fact.
Oh, I mean,
Is
I
that
can
correct?
actually disprove God false beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm actually capable of
Oh,
doing that.
okay, sure. I would like to hear that. But first, is it okay if you can like get over the semantics of like what God is before you get in depth with it?
Sure, it would be the creator of the universe.
Okay, so it's just like the origin of like basically everything.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
Hmm.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. Please continue.
All right, give me 1 second while I grab it.
All right.
Where in the hell is it? Sorry, give me a sec.
No worries.
I actually wrote it down in a syllogism. Okay, so premise 1, the law of conservation of mass and energy hold true. Is that the case? Do you agree with that premise?
Sure.
Okay. Premise 2, work is the displacement of energy through the application of force along a displacement. Does that make any sense to you?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
It's the physics definition of the term work.
Yeah.
It's a very specific
of
phrase.
course,
It's imagine you take an object, you enact force on it, and then it moves. That's basically all it is. It's and it's energy that's
Okay.
going from my finger to the
It's
object.
to another place. Yes, I agree.
Yes. Okay. for energy to be transferred, it must come from somewhere.
Well, yes, it does need a source. So yes, I agree with the third premise.
Correct. Right? Because the law of conservation of mass and energy holds true. So if God enacts miracles, he would be able to perform work independent of the universe.
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
If God enacts miracles, he would be able to perform work independent of the universe.
Well, if he does claim to be omniscient, then yes, I think
Correct.
that's reasonable.
Yes. If God can break the law of the law of conservation of mass and energy, it contradicts the thousands of experiments that support this law.
Yes,
Okay.
I would say I would agree with that.
Therefore, it is not reasonable to assume that God would break the law of conservation of mass and energy, right? So now we've just tied up within this universe, right? But the question isn't within this universe. The question is outside the universe, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Premise 6. If God enacted a first cause before the universe, it implies that he exists beyond space-time.
Sure.
Okay. So premise 7 is attributing purpose to a being beyond space-time is an anthropomorphization, which is you're attributing human characteristics to something that is not human.
Let me think about that one real quick. Would it not be like, is purpose only like something that is only attributed to humans only, or can it be attributed to anything else as well?
Probably could be done to animals, but it would be other creatures. But what's interesting about this is that you're talking about, let's say, for example, if I had like a rock in front of me, right? The rock is similar to humans in a way, in the sense that the rock is mostly made up of carbon, and carbon operates off of four-way bonds and creates long chains of carbon in order to make rock. Humans aren't very different from that in the sense that it also has the same four-way bonds, it has the same carbon to make up your body. By removing space-time, you've removed the fabric that allows carbon to exist, right? And so this concept of something beyond space-time and possessing anthropomorphic properties is even more, it would be even more improbable than assuming an anthropomorphism of a rock.
Sure.
Right,
I think
so-
that's reasonable to say.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
attributing purpose to a being beyond space-time is an anthropomorphization, and that means you're attributing human characteristics to something that's not human. Conclusion. Therefore, attributing purpose to God is unreasonable, leading to the conclusion that a non-anthropomorphic entity, as in not God, is a more reasonable explanation. There. I just disproved it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Sure. Well, is it okay if I can speak my take on what is God, if you
Sure.
don't mind? All right. So the way I look at God personally is that it's the entirety of all that exists. It's basically just energy, fundamentally speaking. So whether this energy has a quote unquote will, or whether or like how it like works or not, I don't think that is the real case. I think it's just about like how we connect more to this totality of what it actually is. So for example, let's say that you connect well to a story, okay? Like a made up story, it doesn't have to be based on real life or not. If you connect well to that story, now that doesn't necessarily mean that that story is actually true. What really matters is that you are more like sympathetic with the story, depending on like how the story is described in the book.
You're losing
But
me, man.
I don't necessarily. Sorry.
You're losing me.
Yeah. So basically, in what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't a god doesn't necessarily have to be a quote unquote like a person sitting up in the air or like, like the typical like Abrahamic definition of what God is. My
Is God the
definition
universe?
of God is uh, God. The way I look at it, God is the concept, not necessarily an actual being. God is more so all that exists and basically beyond any human comprehension. That's
Does God
basically
care
my
about you?
definition. No, not really. I don't think
Really?
so. Yeah, I do think if you're talking about like the very supreme
Did it
thing,
design the
like,
universe?
like if he might have designed it, but that doesn't
I'm
necessarily
asking
mean
you. I'm
that.
asking you.
He, yeah,
What
but
do you
like no,
think it
I don't
is?
think so. No.
Okay, so
Well,
God did
I
not
don't think
design
that
the
the
universe.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we don't know for sure. Like that's what my thing is. I think it's safe to assume that sure there could be something that is beyond our comprehension and something bigger is out there. I think that's somewhat reasonable to believe that. But not it shouldn't I think that it should not be taken as an actual fact.
Well, I want to point out you've already walked away from every single world religion based on what you have said. There isn't a single religion
no,
that says that it is a non-anthropomorphic entity.
no,
Most people would
actually,
not call
there
this
are some.
God.
No, there is actually there's actually a philosophy in Hinduism. It's called Advaita Vedanta. It
Mhm.
basically says that God is basically everything that exists. It's the
How do you spell
totality of
this?
everything that. Here I'll type it in the chat if you don't.
Sure.
Advaita Vedanta. There, I typed it in the chat.
All right, let's take
It's a
look.
very fascinating philosophy. It was created. Well, not I wouldn't say created. It was like philosophized by a guy named Shankaracharya. God is manifested as Shiva. Like it's a subjective reality, I would say. So in his perspective, Shiva is God, but that doesn't mean that God is actually Shiva factually. But God could manifest in other ways. So, for example, the way I define God is like here. Let me think of an analogy. For instance, take a jar of glass. It's transparent, but the moment you put in a different drink, it changes the color. So it's still a
This is
glass jar,
this is
but the
rife with
way you view it.
anthropomorphizations.
Sorry.
This is rife with anthropomorphizations, which is my entire problem.
Oh, I thought.
You've already removed the concept of anthropomorphizing a god, so already this doesn't apply.
Uh. Okay, wait. I thought like we were talking strictly about like human purposes. Sorry.
So, an anthropomorphization is you're applying a characteristic that is human-like to something that is not human. Okay, and so if
It
you,
doesn't
for example, look
necessarily
at
have to
Maya
be
and
human.
illusion, right, and look at the world plurality as a diversity is seen as Maya and an illusion, and Maya is the force which creates an illusion and separation and multiplicity in the world. Having like this thing that describes that is already an anthropomorphization. Do you understand the issue?
Okay, so it's just okay. So I was like a little bit misunderstood of like what anthropomorphization is. I thought it was only like strictly like animal or like living based thing, but not necessarily like environmental. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, the point is that you're applying human characteristics to something that's not human, and that's my issue. You alluded earlier that the universe is God.
Well, okay. First of all, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like an actual being. Just to be clear with that. Is that okay?
I mean, it's your claim.
See?
I don't understand this.
Sure. So I wouldn't use the term God. I would use the word Brahman, not to be confused with the creator deity of Brahma. Brahman is basically the incomprehensible reality that exists, but it can still be like experienced in a more like subjective manner. That's what I would define it.
Okay. I don't know what your argument is at this point.
I think my argument is that I think it's safe to assume that there could be something beyond us, and we might attribute it with like human-like characteristics. And I think it's somewhat safe to assume that, but
No,
I
it's
wouldn't
not.
call it nonsensical.
I just explained
Sure,
to
I
you,
would
and you
like.
agreed with every single premise.
Mm. Huh.
You've agreed with every single premise.
But hold on, let me rethink this. Anyways, yeah, I think I screwed up on my part.
Okay,
I
man.
am a little tired, anyways.
You're good.
Yep. Well, I'm glad to have this conversation. I'm glad to know more about what your take is.
No problem. It's good talking to you. Yeah, like I
Alright.
said, if there's a video, I'll go ahead and I'll ping you in the chat. If there is going to be a video, okay?
Yeah, sure.
It's good
Thank
talk.
you. Have a good day.
Wow, that was very interesting. Anybody else want to raise their hand? We got an open stage now. Otherwise, I'm going to be playing some Chrono Trigger. Do you guys like Chrono Trigger? I love Chrono Trigger. Po Boy says that silence was loud. You all need better debates and more chill debates, to be honest. But good debate nonetheless. Probably some truth to that. I mean, to be fair, like, I'm not known as the most chill guy. But there's no secret in that, right? Bass Weltus says, why you block YouTube chat when you make a YouTube video of these lives? Honestly, like, when I start getting some more, like, people on YouTube chatting, I probably absolutely would probably put it above, but, like, there's just, like, more, activity, for now. But, give it some time. Let's see here. You sure should be done with this game by now. What? This is a relatively long game. I think you get like a good 30 hours out of it, right? Considering I'm only doing like 3 hours a day, it's going to be weeks before I actually get done with it. Again, from Boss Weltis, he says, we could tell you love Chrono Trigger. You've been playing it all your videos and lives. I feel like it should have been completed by now. No, again, this game is over 30 hours. Right. And so like, if I only have 3 hours, it would be basically 10 full, debates or I'm sorry, 10 full weeks effectively. Though that's kind of assuming that I'm like playing it normally, like when in reality, I'm playing it very distracted. So, I mean, I don't think it's probably will be even longer than 30 hours. Got Marl here. You know what? We're just going to do the shelter, I think. I think that's what we need. Yeah, shelter. Oh, sick. All right. Save game. Nice. Dude, I love Chrono Trigger. Anybody who has not played Chrono Trigger, you need to play Chrono Trigger. Great game. Daniel Hume says, I'm sorry. The boss clip says Apache is ready if you want a mod. Oh man. Wait, is Apache going to join? That'd be great. I'll be polite. Oh, look at that. We're getting Daniel. All right. Looks like it's going to happen. Okay. Let me invite Daniel first. I don't know why. Anyway.
Hello, hello.
How you doing, Daniel?
Doing good. Playing games.
All right. So the reason why, you know what? I'm not even going to say it, right? I'm not going to poison the well right away. I'm going to invite Space Apache to speak.
Okay, so he's
Hey,
here
what's
also.
Hey, how you doing, Space Apache?
Let's set up the rules for this. Okay. I will also get my phone to time everything. Do you guys want to have like an opening statement of sort?
Just go ahead and lay your
Yeah.
claim out, Space Apache, and then we'll go off.
Or
We'll just
straight
go
on.
back and forth.
I think
What's your
Okay,
claim?
second,
I
just a
think the
second,
opening
just a
statement.
second, Space Apache. Just a second. I want to make sure that I have everything down. Okay. Do you guys want to have like a set amount of time to speak, and then the other guy goes on?
I'm not prepared for
do you
this.
trust yourselves?
Just go for it.
Okay.
Just give me your
so
take.
in that case,
no need to formalize it.
say your take, and then have a conversation. I will just intervene whenever I see you guys like crossing
Fair
some
enough.
boundaries.
As long as he wants me to lay out my claim, so as long as like you just do your regular mod, somebody starts yelling, hollering, whatever, it's normal stuff. So my opening statement is going to be quite simple. It's what I wanted to debate earlier, which we've debated multiple times at this point. That we have seen. First off, we have the reality is that we have seen epigenetic age reversal in rats. We have seen limited age reversal in specific organs, and age reversal technology is accelerating rapidly at this point. Okay, and my main claim, the main one that we have disagreed on multiple times, is that in the study regarding young blood fusion, there was genuine anti-aging age reversal properties in this experiment. And it's also been confirmed by other experiments. We have seen, as a species, genuine age reversal at the rat level.
Can you pull up the study?
Yes. Give me a second. I'm going to mute myself because I'm at work and I have a radio. So give me a second. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to mute myself while I grab it.
Let me take a look here. Is this the reversal biological age in multiple rat organs by young porcine plasma fraction? Is that what it is?
Should be, yes. I'm going to link it in the side chat.
Okay.
It should be the same one.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do.
So give me a second. Because real quick, but we did this while I was driving, so I'm going to have to find me a place to park here in about 10, 15 minutes. Probably about 10, 15 minutes. I'm not going to be able to scroll through and read.
That's okay. We'll read it together.
But let's go ahead and push forward anyway.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get it to show on my stream. Okay. So the abstract says, young blood plasma is known to confer beneficial effects on various organs in mice and rats. However, it was not known as to whether plasma from young pigs rejuvenates old rat tissues at the epigenetic level, whether it alters the epigenetic clock, which is a highly accurate molecular biomarker of aging. To address this question, we developed and validated 6 different epigenetic clocks for rat tissues that are based on DNA methylation values derived from N is equal to 613 tissue samples. As indicated from their respective names, the rat pan-tissue clock can be applied to DNA methylation profiles from all rat tissues, while the rat brain, liver, and blood clocks apply to the corresponding tissue types. We also developed 2 epigenetic clocks that apply both human and rat tissues by adding 1,366 human tissue samples to the training data. We employed the 6 rat clocks to investigate the rejuvenation effects of porcine plasma fraction treatment in different rat tissues. The treatment more than halved the epigenetic ages of blood, heart, and liver tissue. A less pronounced but statistically significant rejuvenation effect could be observed in the hypothalamus. The treatment was accompanied by progressive improvement in the function of the organs as ascertained through numerous biochemical, physiological biomarkers, and behavioral responses to assess cognitive functions. An immunoglobulin G, IgN, N, glycosylation, I'm sorry for my pronunciation.
Glycosylation, however you want to pronounce it.
Pattern shift from pro to anti-inflammatory also indicated reversal of glycan aging. Overall, this study demonstrates that a young porcine plasma-derived treatment markedly reverses aging in rats according to epigenetic clocks, IgG glycans, and other biomarkers of aging. Now we can look at the conclusion.
So before we go to the conclusion, I have to ask you, what exactly is your claim going to be the same as it's been in previous debates?
Well, my
That age
claim is
reversal did
that
not happen here.
so I'm just going to ask you. You had laid claim
I'm
into
asking
that
you
there
about
is.
your claim.
Yeah. So I'm trying to explain myself. You had originally claimed that that age reversal is happening here, and you've also laid claim into saying that this would likely happen to humans. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So what is your counterclaim?
Well, I think that the paper that you're referring to here, I think you're hyperbolizing the point.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means that you're taking something and exaggerating it to the nth degree.
What does the nth degree mean?
Well, so for example, this paper is showing that, hey, through this particular process, we've been able to observe specific tissues of organs to actually have an age reversal process, which is cool. That is observed at a cellular level. That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. So they did not do that to an entire organ, did they?
Okay, thank you for finally revealing your entire position because this is going to be really easy. That's exactly what the paper states, actually, Amender. If you read the paper in its entirety and not just the beginning and the conclusion, but you read the paper in its entirety, you will find out that the tissue samples, right, were retrieved in order to evaluate the actual condition of the epigenetic clocks regarding the organs, okay? Because you can't... This is how we do anything. We sample tissues from multiple organs to evaluate the health of those organs, okay? And the health of these organs, according to the study, were functioning far more like the tissues and organs from younger rats, okay? And when you take a whole bunch of organs and you put them together, right, tissues from liver, kidneys, lungs, neural tissue, muscle tissue, skin cells, right, and you compare them, and all of these things have the function on par with significantly younger rats, right, then you can legitimately make the claim that epigenetic age reversal has occurred, because it's not just in the tissues, it's not just at the cellular level, it is the cellular level, the tissues affect the organs affect the whole body, because your body is nothing but a combination of organs.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about. You're hyperbolizing.
That's literally what the paper says.
That is not what the paper says. Well, no, we went through the abstract just now. The way that they were able to do age reversal was that they grabbed specific tissues and then they applied some sort of a plasma to be able to enact age reversal. This is not affecting the rat at a living level. It is also not affecting a giant macroorganism or even the entire organ. It is just pulling tissue out and then finding from a petri dish that it is reducing its age.
I have a question for you, Amender. What is the title of this paper?
It is Reversal of Biological Age in Multiple Rat Organs by Young Porcine Plasma Fraction.
It does not say tissues there, does it? Or cellular level?
Yeah,
what does it
so
say?
if you
It says
read
very
the
clearly
paper,
organs.
It does yes, because you're grabbing organ tissues. Yes.
The tissues tell you the health of the organ, Amender. That's how science is done.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm saying that it's not an entire organ. It's not like this idea that you're taking an entire rat and then it's suddenly becoming young. Right? That's not how it works. What we did is we grabbed specific tissues from the rat, put it in a petri dish, and then applied porcine plasma to it, and then all of a sudden it's reversing in age. That's what they found, which is an interesting find, right? There's a probability that maybe that is how that happened. That's literally what we just read.
No, you're misreading it. Okay, so when you I have a question for you. How do you evaluate the health of an organ?
Well, can you give me
especially the genetic age of that organ, the function of that organ? How do you evaluate that?
I don't know. I'm assuming you do a biopsy, but I'm sure there's probably multiple ways. I'm not a doctor.
Yes, yes. There's multiple ways, but the primary means in things like rats that can't sit here and tell us how they're feeling, and we can't, generally, as we retrieve tissue samples, we do similar things on humans. We have a variety of evaluation of organs. Like for lungs, you may breathe into a large thing that basically reads your lung capacity. It tells you what your lung capacity is, and if you have a lower lung capacity, yada yada. But what we do a lot of times is biopsies, right? Tissue, and a biopsy is literally a tissue sample. The tissue sample then tells us the health of the organ. Okay? If you read, once again, all you have to read is the abstract. It makes it very, very clear that what they did was just sample tissues from the organs and evaluated the organs. In fact, if we scroll down in the paper, you will find chart after chart after chart that demonstrate the health of these organs relative to younger rats. And not just like one
Tissues.
organ or just tissues or cellular, but their heart, liver, lungs, kidneys, blood, neural
The
tissue.
tissue of
everything.
those things.
Yes, but that's how you tell the health of an organ, Amender, is you sample the tissue.
So I'm keep pulling it up, and it looks like that they're specifically talking about tissues. You're saying it's the entire organ. Where is that? Where do you see it say the entire organ?
Oh my God! When you to measure the health of an organ, if you're not using one of the other means, like I pointed out, like
Do we need to go
a
over
lung
the
capacity
methodology?
test. Yeah, you can, but it's literally just in the abstract where you're right there.
Yeah,
where
I
it
read the
states
I read the abstract. We read it together.
They sample the tissues to tell the health of the organ. That's why the title of the paper has organs in it, not cellular level or tissues.
How are you applying porcine plasma to the entirety of a rat without, like, that
You
doesn't make
inject
any
it into the
sense?
rat, Amender.
Where are you seeing
Can
that?
I just intervene for a second? Because I read a bit about this. So it's a treatment that they apply to rats. If you go down in the study, you will see that they also assess the cognitive function of the rats that were actually treated with the porcine plasma. So it's literally like a treatment that they did, and they tested the rats for months after the treatment to see exactly if their cognitive functions are also getting better, which they should have. And they actually found that the cognitive functions started to improve after the plasma fraction treatment was applied.
And like what you said,
Where do you
Amanda, they
see
didn't
that?
just do this in a petri dish. They didn't just do
It's
this in a petri
down.
dish.
If you just a second, Space Apache. If you go down, you'll see it says cognitive function as a title,
Control F,
and then it talks
cognitive
about
function.
yeah. It doesn't have pages, so I can't really. And figure 4 is literally detailing exactly how the cognitive function improved over
Okay.
time.
Okay. Let's take a look here. So, learning from memory, which are constituent characteristics of cognitive. Oh, let me pull it up. Oh shit! Where did it go? God damn it! All right.
That's the one.
Learning and memory, which are constituent characteristics of cognitive functions, decline not only in humans but also in rats starting from 12 months of age. Barnes maze was used to measure latency period required by the rats to escape through the right hole in an escape box. Videos illustrating the latency patterns of 3 rats, young, old treated, and old untreated, can be found in the supplement. Within a month of plasma fraction treatment, the rats exhibited significantly reduced latency to escape. They learned and remembered better. After the second month, treated rats began slightly reduced latency period compared to the untreated old rats, and once again they learned much faster than the latter. And by the third month, it was clear that treated rats remembered the maze much better than untreated ones. From even the first day of test, their latency period was significantly reduced. At the end of the test period, their latency was like that of young rats. This feature was sustained and repeated in the 4th month. Collectively, these results showed an E5 improved learning and memory from the rats. Interestingly, the epigenetic age of the treated rat brain samples, the hypothalamus, was lower than that of the untreated old ones, but less markedly than the magnitude decrease of epigenetic age of the blood, heart, and liver. This introduced numerous possible insights in the relationship between cognitive function, biological age, and physical health, which would be further elaborated in this discussion. Okay, so is this, you would say this is age reversal?
Epigenetic age reversal, yes, which is what we care about when it comes to aging.
Uh,
And so I would like to point out your original claim was they put these tissues in a petri dish and applied the young porcine blood plasma fraction.
yeah, that's what it said
That's
in the
literally
abstract.
that's not what it says in the abstract because you misunderstood it. And you once again, all you read was like you said before, all you read is the abstract to the conclusion. You didn't read the rest of the paper. If you read the rest of the paper, you would know the stuff about the neural studies. You would also know, like for example, the blood was the most affected part of the rat and showed the most improvement, and the liver also showed
Mhm.
significant improvement.
Okay, I mean, I don't have a problem with the idea that this concept could make them think better. Sure.
It's not about them thinking better. It's about them generally being better at everything. This is epigenetic age reversal. They have older rats functioning much on the same genetic and operational level that younger rats would,
Hmm.
independent of their actual age. This is age reversal.
Okay, so you think that can be applied to humans?
Yes.
Okay.
Now that steps outside the bounds of this paper, but yes. Overall,
Okay.
your original claim was that I'm hyperbolizing this paper. So I would like you to tell me exactly, do you think I'm still hyperbolizing it now that you know this
No,
new
it sounds
information?
more reasonable now.
Okay, fair enough. Now we can go on to the whether or not it can be applied to humans. I think that obviously I don't have a paper to back this up entirely, but the paper does comment on a little bit if I remember correctly at a certain point. They did use if I remember correctly, it was tissue in the paper. It's been a minute. But overall, we see the study currently happening, an unofficial study of similar effects, but not quite happening with this billionaire and his son and his grandfather doing these experiments. But I would like to say I think that obviously rats don't translate perfectly to humans. However, in this case, seeing as like young piglet blood plasma worked on rats, I see no reason that this no at least my hypothesis is that I wouldn't see any major reason it wouldn't be applicable to humans as well.
I mean, it might. Sure. I mean, how much extra 8 years do you think that you'd get out of that?
According to this study, like almost like a
How
lot,
many?
up to like 40%.
40%.
If you look at the study and then start like obviously different organs age at different rates, so it's not I can't say it's probably not 40%. That's why I said up to 40%. But yeah, in some of the organs we saw returns as much as 40%.
Okay. I think that's probably a bit of a stretch.
I mean, it's the upper limit, yeah.
I mean,
I don't know
like
what the
one,
real
you have the
limit would
problem
be.
with the humans in getting this to humans, and then like increasing that to 40%. So would you say that is this would you still agree that? And you did not say that this debate, but I'm going to see if you hold to that. Do you believe that you will live to be 1,000?
This has nothing really to do with our debate. This is getting into my personal views of like of where technology will go and where we'll end up as a species. But yeah, I do think it's a genuine possibility, and I'm backed up by people like Ray Kurzweil, and other professionals in this field who believe, like as they've stated, that the first person to live to 1,000 has already been born. So I think there's a very real, provided we don't blow each other up, destroy our planet through global warming, or some major other black swan event that could very easily happen to us happens. Yeah, I think there's a real possibility I'll live to be 1,000. Yeah.
You would say this paper, however, this porcine plasma injection, this does not get you to 1,000, right?
I don't know. We don't have, to my knowledge, we don't have studies on this over with larger creatures that live significantly longer. We're going to still continue to do these studies in rats,
Yeah, I'm saying right now.
potentially. And the
I'm
issue
saying
is
right now. Do
potentially.
you think that we can, based on this study, live to 1,000?
I don't think so, but I mean, it might be a
Right, I don't think
possibility.
so
We need
either.
to see how. Let me finish real quick. It depends on how it overlaps with humans. Okay, so I don't see any reason it shouldn't overlap quite well with humans. Of course, I'm not a biologist. Okay, so maybe I'm missing something. It's a very real possibility. But the professional opinion of people in the field is that it should overlap quite well with humans. Now, there's something maybe we're all missing. All right. On the other hand, like if we did do this and it did have these effects, it say we did make it well enough, we did perfected this procedure to such a point that we could give humans 40% more life, right? And as they age, we do it again and again. We don't know what that would look like over and over and over and over
Well,
again.
the study
decades.
talks about an improved cognitive function, right? Like, isn't like the number one thing that kills humans is heart disease?
Yeah, the heart was also affected positively.
Okay, well that's good. I'm just saying that, like,
But not
I
as-
don't know,
not-
this
not on the
idea of
level
like a
of the liver.
40%. I don't know. It just seems a lot.
I said
And
up to 40%.
okay, well, yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It's like it's more muted, you know, and you're making a lot more of a more chewable claim in my eyes at this point.
But the issue is like I'm making the same claims I've made before. It's just I get more aggressive when it's a non-official debate. I'm not gonna lie, I do get more aggressive. But and when I come onto a larger, like especially recorded debate, I'm a lot more surgical than I usually am. But this is the same claims I've been making the entire time. We have people in the side chat right now who literally are saying like, "This is all he talks about." Yeah, this is what I talk about. This is what I delve into. The same claims I made before. Yes, I believe there's a very real possibility I live to 1,000. Yes, I believe this can be transferred. I don't see any reason this shouldn't be able to be transferred into humans. Yes, we have genuine epigenetic age reversal. Yes, the technology is being funded to the tune of billions upon billions of dollars, and multiple countries involved in the execution of this technology. There are many wildly powerful people who want this technology to happen, and many reasons we should distribute it to the average citizen, primarily because we have declining birth rates around the world and shit. So yeah, I do believe this technology will advance rapidly because so many people, so many powerful people, and so many citizens need it. And I think we'll see that. That's the opinion of Ray Kurzweil. That's the opinion of multiple scientists in this field, is that will be funded and advance rapidly, and that if you survive the next 10 years, there's a very real possibility you survive the next 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, but this study doesn't show that, right? And
No, this is the first. The reason the study is so
Okay.
important is because this is the first genuine epigenetic age reversal we've ever encountered.
Mhm.
That's why it's so important.
Yeah.
It's the toe. It's the
yeah, it
belly-
sure is
it's the,
cool. I mean,
the belly
don't get me
button
wrong,
stage.
right? Like, I would like to see, like age reversal. Like, obviously, like I don't want to, live till like 85 and die. It would be super cool to live, 200, 300. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. But, I don't know. It just, my main issue with at least prior that I've had with you was that, like, I feel like that you hyperbolize the position, but no, this sounds a lot more reasonable. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's the same claims I've been making. I do get way more aggressive when I'm not being recorded, obviously. But obviously, you know how I am. Like, that's the way I debate. I'm extremely aggressive. Like, I'm aggressive here. I'm just not. When I'm not in an official debate, it's more like swinging a battle axe, and like here, it's like using a dagger, right? Like, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So you got
But
anything
it's the
else
same
for me?
claim. It's been the same claims. No, not really. Like, that's my primary. That's the
Can I
primary. one
tell you
want.
something interesting? We actually do have animals in the world that are technically immortal. They will
Yes.
never die.
Yes,
And the
there are
reason they die
lobsters.
is for like
think
external,
certain
like
jellyfish that
lobsters, exact jellyfishes that are immortal. And
Fuck
yeah, I mean, these studies are important because we can, like, even in the study that he references, they're literally, first of all, they had to find some way to determine the epigenetic age of the rats, and in the meantime, like, two of those methods that they developed are actually applicable to humans to kind of know exactly what the genetic age of a person is, because that's what epigenetic means. It's not a chronological age.
Mhm.
So no, it is interesting. Yeah, does it mean that we'll live to 1,000 in the next 20 years? Probably not.
I think that
But
I
it
have
is
a question
cool.
for
It's
you.
probably gonna get better.
I have a question for you, Daniel. A lot of these advances, like especially the anti-aging research, like the current mitochondrial gene therapy drugs that are being developed in Southeast Asia, and the mapping of the human genome and gene therapy drugs that are being developed around the world are primarily being driven at the, well, not primarily being driven, but AI is beginning to drive this research drastically because of the data compression abilities that AI carries with it. I think that my personal opinion is this: I'm going to invest, and bet probably my life on the idea that these AIs will drive this technology forward significantly faster than traditional human research methods. That's why I believe, and this is why people like Ray Kurzweil believes we'll see, like basically
What was the
aging
question, though?
escape velocity, the aging escape velocity within the decade.
You said they had a question. What was the
Oh
question?
yeah, the question is, wouldn't you consider that the same thing? You're pretty familiar with this AI tech. You're familiar with what it does. Isn't your opinion that isn't it rational to believe that these things will accelerate this technology
So I
rapidly?
would like to continue, but we do got to continue our further debates. So I'm going to go ahead and move you guys back to the audience, if that's okay.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you
Good
guys
night.
joining. Let's go ahead and move to audience here. Okay. All right. Looks like we got some other people that are holding their hands up. So we're going to go ahead and invite them. I've got, okay. Well, I'm seeing that name and I'm going to give you the opportunity, but I want to let you know that if you troll this, you're just going to get immediately thrown off. Come on up. I am the Grand Wizard Man. Right? Don't start with some racism. We're probably not going to get along.
I'm not racist.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Can I ask how old are you?
I'm 16.
That is way too young. Sorry, I can't put you on the stream. Unfortunately, you're only 16 years old. I'm not going to do that to you. Trust me, I'm doing you a favor in the long run. The next person we have here, we got Fangface, who would like to join the stream. Come on up, Fangface.
I was scrolling through another hot take, and I want to know. Let me read get the exact wording here. Depends on how strong you make this claim. I'd like to challenge you on this. Also, what is even the dispute about that? You guys keep talking about those fucking rats, dude. It's been how long now?
I mean, we seem to come to an agreement.
Yeah, but it's gonna come back up. You know that.
Why would it? We came to an agreement.
I don't know, like that. I've seen situations where key flagship topics apparently get resolved between two people, and it's back into the topic 3 days fucking later. Somebody got triggered.
So what do you got for me, buddy?
I'm reading through the thing because I remember I found something that I sort of disagreed with you on. Okay. I think your take on the sort of dialectical materialism thing is kind of bunk.
My take on the dialectical materialism.
Yeah. You said the next stage in dialectical material is not socialism, but technical oligarchy. I have some criticisms with that statement.
All right.
But I don't know how much you actually commit to this. First off, we're already there, so you wouldn't say the next stage because we're already in a technocratic oligarchy.
Are we? I don't think so.
Yeah. So if you look at the way in which the coalitions make out, it heavily advantages people in power. We shifted over into sort of this weird kind of neo-Keynesian kind of supply economics thing that heavily sides with the people who supply the businesses and the technocrats who control society, all those departments of all this and that, the other. Politicians, their best work is creating a bureaucratic entity, right? So we're already there, so you wouldn't say the next step is that.
So you're saying we're there already. So let me ask you this, right? Do you think that do the technology companies control everything?
Do they control it? No, I don't think they control everything. What do you mean?
What is an oligarchy to you?
So an oligarchy is one where the rich have the majority of the keys of power. The way in which our coalitions make and the way voting patterns make, it's going to heavily advantage and side towards people who control the means of production and the oligarchic entities of our society, so that the aristocratic entities. I don't think they control literally every aspect, but I don't think you have to be the literal embodiment and personification to be something.
Well, I'm asking, so an oligarchy is a small group of people who have control over a country, an organization, or institution.
There's a looser definition that exists that's not just literally enshrined. It's just it works out that way. Technically, it's not enshrined that Russia is a backsliding weird kind of oligarchic system. The way in which their institutions shape out essentially cede most power to religion, the autocrat, or the corporations, right? And that's sort of how things work in America. You can say it's for better or worse, but we're already towards this sort of like technocratic entity.
Okay, but I mean, I don't think it matches the definition of a technocracy. I don't think it's an oligarchy.
In what way are we not driven by bureaucrats? I can't think of
By
a single
technology?
aspect.
Well, there's areas of
No,
of
a
society
technocracy-
that isn't dictated by technology. In
Wait,
fact,
no, a
huge parts of
technocracy-
society. In
Wait, no, a
fact,
technocracy.
the
we
technocrats
disagree
are
that-
beholden to the politicians.
Wait, the technocrat is a bureaucrat. We're talking about the educated people in society making decisions, and I can't think of a single aspect of your life that is in some way being dictated by an expert.
I mean, like, I guess, like, in terms of communication, that's the case. But I mean, I think that's like a far cry
No, like the
from like
departments
a
regulate.
technocratic
like-
oligarchy. It just seems a little.
Do you know how
too
like
much.
how many departments there are, dude? How many like 3-letter agencies there are? That like I'm not against this
There's a
thing
lot.
at all. I think it's a good thing, right? But there's so many different bureaucrats that just weigh on what things are and try to regulate things to make like efficient outcomes. We have so much, like we have such a bloated bureaucracy in America. I don't know how you don't see that.
No, I don't disagree with you, but your argument was whether or not that we're a
Yeah,
technocracy, and
technocracy.
and you had a problem with my material my idea of a material dialectic.
Yeah, I
And
just don't.
when I'm bringing it up, I mean, it just seems like, well, you also agree that it doesn't appear to be a technocratic oligarchy currently, but then you're saying that it is. So it doesn't make any sense.
Right? So, like, I looked up technocracy, the government or control of society or industry by elite of technical experts. They are not talking about like tech bros, dude.
That's fair.
so-
That's
so
fair.
wait,
I'm referring to
okay.
specifically that. I mean, I'm applying a different definition, which
I
is
just-
fair.
can I
I've clarified what I've meant, though.
Oh, okay, but so if you don't mean that, then obviously I'm not challenging on that. I just also don't think this is like a dialectical thing. I don't think there was two groups in society that sort of set the stage for this.
Mhm.
I think this was sort of a functional entity. That'd be the thing, but if you aren't willing to commit to that either, that's why I wanted to see how far you were in on that claim. The other claim I see that's low suspect is you say the cause of increased anxiety and depression. I think there's more than one cause there.
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
So the smartphone thing with 39, right?
Yes.
Combination with social media are destroying adolescent brains and are the cause of increased anxiety and depression. I agree largely with the destroying of the dopamine centers, but I don't believe in it being the de facto cause of the increased anxiety and depression. I think I have a different understanding what those are, given my study into trauma so far. So if you want to have that conversation, if you're
Sure.
mean something completely different in the other one.
There was a book that I read that specifically it was by like a PhD, or I think it was actually a master's degree. I could be wrong about it, but it was basically they were doing a particular, analysis. I don't know if I could call it like a study, but it was like it was called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. I'll go ahead and pull it up.
Okay.
And I read the entire thing, and basically they made a very, very, very strong case that the literal cause of anxiety and depression is in fact a mix of both the having a smartphone and social media at the same time, and it is especially bad for females.
So I would just push back against the use of cause of.
Yeah. So like the problem is that they also pushed back in the book as to whether or not that it could be the cause of, and that it couldn't just be like a correlation. The problem is that they didn't have any better explanation to account for the entire globe happening at the same exact time.
Well, so another big explanation is we are in some of the most uncertain and unprecedented times of all time.
That's not the case in every single country in the world. There were lots of countries that during that time were very prosperous.
Wait. The
Like
world
the United
operating
States was very
outside
prosperous.
of
There's also a
cost?
lot of poor societies that don't have this problem.
Wait, they still are like underneath uncertainty with things shifting with America as a superpower. Climate change too. There's a bunch of like
Yeah,
major
I'm
changes.
aware. They had accounted for all of these. They had
Wait, so
accounted for all of these
I
things.
will agree with you, right? That it absolutely is a major contributing factor. The fact that we're overloading our dopamine centers and make it harder to engage in escapism, right? At the same time, with
That's
flooding
not
you
the reason why.
with that absolutely is part of this. How is it not?
So what they were basically saying is that there is a portion of time where the child needs to be able to develop. And the specific age that it came down to was between 13 and 16, basically in order to grow up into like basically not an anxious mess. Is you basically need to have consistent challenges
Resilient?
coming from your peers, and that there is a face-to-face interaction, and specifically like with the group of people, because that's how our brains have just been grown to evolve over the course of millions of years as a social species. And so by removing that aspect, we've removed that particular developmental portion of the brain, which then caused the anxiety and depression that we've observed.
That seems like a lot of suspect claims.
It's not. I recommend to read the book.
So like
It makes this
it's
argument
like
pretty
looking at,
cogently.
that makes like complete sense in the, like other ways, and then using like the most convoluted way to get there, right? Like
I'm just telling you what the
thing
book
that makes
says, and I
people
just agree with the book because it makes
we're being
sense.
A big thing that makes people anxious is they're being introduced to a lot of unfixable problems that they know are going to have detrimental effects on them, right? And then you can do nothing. And so basically, our gorilla brains cannot handle the idea of like aspect threats that are marching us towards climate disaster, right? So we're going to respond the same way we would a snake, and that can lead to anxiety. Another issue is we're essentially being shown people who have perfect dream lives because they are both curating what pictures they share, and they are the result of like flashes in the pan or lightning in a bottle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now our standard is either modernity, which we think is like toxic, evil, right? Or we're Jake Paul, right? So we have these other things contributing to depression. Another thing is your phone this makes it harder to process things because it opts the same way as like video games or escapism. And so we are sort of ruining our dopamine receptors and making it harder to escape when that's the only thing we're really teaching them to do to deal with their problems, which is escapism. So we basically set them up for failure in a long enough time frame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how this is rebutting my point.
Because it's an alternative explanation outside the specific pathway you chose to do. It's like a different theory. It's a meta point.
I feel like both of those things can be true, but one of them is backed by evidence, which is what I presented in that book.
Wait, but like
it's called The Anxious Generation by John Haidt.
Same thing I've seen from other psychologists that I've listened to, read, and did. This is literally the alternative thing.
So what exactly do you think is causing the addition in anxiety, especially in depression, especially among girls?
Awareness of like broad multi-generational problems that require
this is very specific.
To solve is increasing. That's a huge increasing anxiety and stress in people's life. Because before, people were not very aware of these things, and they had a lot more atomized, more like focused and regionalized problems that they reasonably could fix. And now your problems are like, well, climate change could literally cause your entire area to be uninhabitable, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Right? That's a big difference between what
again that wouldn't happen at the same that wouldn't happen across the entire globe.
Yes, it would.
How would that work? How does that explain that?
Wait, how is everyone not affected by climate change, Mender?
Some people are affected more than others.
Wait, but that doesn't mean anything. Everyone's affected, and so that causes instability. And that's just one example of a sort of giant problem. People through the information...
So you're saying that the increase of anxiety and depression is due to global warming?
Wait, I think it's multifaceted. You are the one saying...
Did global warming happen in the 90s?
was awareness of global warming
Let's pull it
common
up.
in
When
the
did
90s?
anxiety and depression start spiking among adolescents?
Wait. So that's not what we're talking about, Amender. You're changing the topic right now.
No, I'm
Running
not.
away.
Nope,
So we're
I'm
gonna
not.
stay on this. We're gonna stay on this. What I'm talking about is your perception and awareness of it has changed. Right? That's what I'm talking about, Amender. And people are way more knowledgeable about systemic issues now than in the past. And they have a lot of information to
This
get
isn't
and learn
a
about
this
these
isn't a
things.
change in
Once
the
they
measurement.
got
If it was
solved,
a
this
change in the
is
measurement,
what
you would
things
exhibit
are.
in some countries would remain stagnant,
Think
and in
better
other
than
countries it
people,
would
dude.
not remain stagnant, but it's gone up across the entire world. And specifically where it started happening was
Well,
around
it's
2012.
different.
I'm going to go ahead and provide exactly
So
what I'm
everyone's
looking at
affected.
here so you can
So
see
is
that I'm
everyone
not
affected,
bullshitting
Amender?
you. This isn't bullshit.
Is everyone affected, Amender?
Give me 1 second.
Is everyone affected by climate change and the instability that it brings,
That
Amender?
is correct, but specifically
Okay,
around
so that means that this is
2012, where it
wait.
suddenly
So
spikes
this
up,
one
that doesn't make any
example.
sense.
It's one
Calm
example of
down,
a
calm down. I'm
one
explaining to you.
example.
If you look right here,
I
I've just
listened to
posted
that
it.
already.
You can see it on my
I'm
stream.
doubting these things.
So
I'm saying
I will.
that a
So
big
hold
difference
on.
is
Climate
the
change has
information
happened
during that time,
prior.
dude.
Oh my God! Please stop talking over me. Climate change has happened
Stop trying to
prior.
change topic.
I'm not changing topic. It's the same topic.
No, it isn't, because I'm not talking about what actually happened. I'm talking about people's perceptions, how they see things. People's ability and awareness of climate change and shit like that was way lower in the 90s. Now we have the information age, and at the tip of your fingers, you can figure out these problems now. The average person is now not limited by being able to afford these expensive ass fucking educations, right? So they can know these things. That's a big difference, Amender.
So let me get this straight, right? Prior to 2012, we weren't measuring anxiety and depression as well. And so the entire globe exhibits this new. I'm trying to steel man your point. So what did I get wrong?
No, it isn't. Wait. So then, if
I'm
you're that far
trying
off,
to
then
steel man
maybe
your
listen to
point.
your
What did I get wrong?
So I am saying that the change is your ability to perceive these problems exist, Amender. You're citing 2012, and this is a huge saturation. This is during the fucking Arab Spring, dude. What do you talk like? This is a big difference in information and access.
But it
to
happened
information.
across the
How are you
entire
doubting
globe.
That happened, dude.
Why did it happen across the entire globe?
Because everyone got these things about the same time. Isn't your
Except
entire
actually,
thing that
wait, it
information
didn't
and
happen in the.
smartphones
It didn't
changes?
happen in
Now you're
exactly the
doubting that
entire
people
globe.
kind of
It
got
happened
this
in the
information
areas
technology
where
about
they
the
had
same time,
phones.
dude?
Oh my God. It happened in the areas where people had phones.
So
How do
the
you
areas
explain
where
for
people
that?
had
The only
ability to
answer you
access
have at this
information
point is the phone.
at their fingertips. So the ability to research information at your fingertips was available to them. Yes or no, Mender?
At 2012?
Yes.
Yeah, kids
Well, okay,
got
so then they
access
were
to
able
cell
to
phones
know
in
this
2012.
information and they were able to research these things, right? That'd be a huge factor you need to explain. That would be commonalities between this. I'm not saying social media has no effect on this, but to
Are
confidently say it
kids
is the
are kids
cause
doing these
is
analyses,
absurd,
or is
Amender.
it
This is a
scientists who
multivariate
measure this
aspect.
for decades?
Wait, have measured this for decades, and I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
scientists have measured this for decades,
have completely
not
different
children.
outcomes. The weird evil psych you're fucking citing, dude. Why are you going against people's qualitative data when you think that you know more about what's
I'm not
happening?
going against people's qualitative data. You're just throwing
I'm
shit
telling you
at a
what people
wall
report.
to see what sticks. And I'm explaining to you that this was
I'm not
that
doing
things
that.
like this, like global warming, was in fact considered in the book, and it had been tossed out because there's areas of global warming where it's heavily affected, and in areas where it's not heavily affected,
But
and
they're talking
anxiety
about
levels
people's
don't necessarily indicate that because of global warming that's the case. That is also the case for the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring happens around in the Middle East. That wouldn't necessarily happen throughout the entire globe. Something happened around 2012 that changed things.
Access
And we could
information.
not find a single reason why, other than the access of a smartphone combined with social media apps.
Increased access to information.
That would
right,
also
Amender?
explain why
The right
specifically
increase
that
of
happens
access to
among girls
information.
than it does boys.
So that would be also like increased access to information, right? So what I'm saying is people's perceptions have changed. They have more access to information and they have more abilities to find things to be upset about. And they're able to look on social media and get really upset because they see people living dream lives. This is what people report when they talk about things online. Did you guys talk? Does your fucking book talk about people's perceptions at all? People's responses? Or are they like really inhuman and think they know better than how people should respond to things?
Yes, it analyzed. You're talking about a book written by psychologists. Like, I don't know what you think this is.
Why are
Do
you
you
like
have?
such an inhuman
You're
perspective
repeating.
then?
You're repeating yourself at this point. Do you have anything else?
Wait. I'm repeating myself because you've not actually adequately responded to
Yes, I
me.
have.
If you cannot move
Do you
forward
have
in
anything
the
else?
conversation, that is fine. You say, well, we believe we have ruled out everything in one book, and then we know everything. We know the exact cause of this
No.
one thing.
There's always new things to learn. I never made that
Yeah,
claim.
and I'm saying it's multivariant and it's multifaceted. You literally conceded that earlier in the conversation.
Could be.
These things can exist at the same time. I
Could
don't
be.
think
I
that's...
have no
I
indication
don't-
that any of the things that you have mentioned to cause that thing
Uh,
roughly around
wait, so
2012
wait,
throughout the entire
evidence.
globe.
Wait, but if I flood you with evidence, you would still bury your head in the sand as the 1stAmender.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's like a character
All
attack.
right.
Now, do you have
Let's
anything
deal
else for me?
Yep, that's bye-bye.
Okay. Good talk. Good God. All right. Give me 1 second. Sorry. All right. Looks like we got a few people who have their hands up. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to bring in... Ooh, look at this. We got Anarchiosis. Welcome to the stream, Anarchiosis.
What's up, bro?
Good. Do you have any
Can you hear me
idea
well?
how much I was gritting my teeth to your guys' reaction video?
I have an idea. That's actually why I wanted to join the stream, because I wanted to get your thoughts about that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I saw a lot of the comments you left on the video.
That was
and
on
I
the part
appreciate
one.
that.
I wanted to do it on part two, but I'll be honest, I was driving and I was just like I couldn't, comment. Like I wanted to comment like long paragraphs, and by the time that I was done driving, I finished the video. So
Damn.
that's why no
okay.
comments on the second video, but I did
That's a
watch
long
the
drive.
second video as well. I was a little annoyed at the part where I had to explain a particular situation regarding MVPF, and rather than sitting down and listening to it, right, you guys got stuck on like an anarcho-capitalist perspective and didn't really consider how MVPF is even calculated, and you guys just operated on some sort of an assumption, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. Of course, we do lots of measurements in economics, and it can lead us to ought systems. That's literally what the MVPF is for. But I mean, I guess if you're just an anarchist, then you may not want to agree with that. I get it, right? Mises say no, therefore no.
Well, the reason for that is probably because, well, I think Austrians have a problem with mathematical modeling because of the it's hard to track all the variables that go into an equation like that, and that might be why they might be more skeptical with mathematical modeling, and that's why they use praxeology instead to describe human behavior. So, I mean, there's a discussion to be had there.
They don't use any mathematical modeling whatsoever. There's no problem in that
What?
in your mind?
There's no problem that they don't use mathematical modeling.
Yes.
No, they can use it on lower levels, but it's hard when you bring it up to like a macroeconomy level because it's hard to control for all the variables.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can still measure it. Is kind of the
Like
problem.
I'm not saying it's not impossible to measure. You can measure it, but I don't think we have the technology capable of
We do.
measuring that amount.
We measure
things.
MVPF. It's possible to do so.
Okay, so walk me through this. What is MVPF?
It's the marginal value of public funds.
Okay, and how do they calculate it?
I have to pull up the exact way that it is done. We can go over it though. Give me a
Sure,
sec.
but like I guess on a general scale, what kind of things do they measure for? I'm assuming they measure for like preferences.
This is why, like when I was sitting there explaining it, what it is, and then they skipped forward. By the way, let me just first start off by saying, you're a much better arguer than King Sithis. It's not even close. Do you understand that?
Okay, hold on. I'm a passive arguer, so I'm not very aggressive.
That's fine.
I
There's
just
nothing
like to
wrong
listen
with
to people.
passive and or aggressive. The point is
Yeah.
that your arguments are more convincing than what King Sithis says. Because, like, I got to tell you, man, his sexual assault argument is not a good argument. And not only that, it's super gross. Like, no one from not only from like a pragmatic lens, but just from like just a strict rhetoric lens, it's a terrible idea. It's like no one's
you know why he
people's
does
brain
that,
are
though, right?
immediately. Yes, I
You know
understand
why
why
he
they
does
do that.
that.
Yeah, but you yourself even got to the conclusion that stealing is not the same as sexual assault.
No, they're
Even
different levels of harm.
I heard it in your much more intelligent brain than King Sithis. He sat there and was making the equivocation of stealing and sexual assault. You used the R word, right? It was used the R word, and
Yeah.
you yourself was like, well, wait, it's not the same. Your logic took over, but King Sithis ain't gonna have that. Do you understand?
Well, because he's pushing the boundaries of
I
utilitarianism.
understand
That's why
that,
he's
but
doing
it's not
that.
the same thing,
Yeah.
is my point. So comparing the two as if they are the same thing, and then specifically using that as like a rhetoric tactic is like all it's going to do is just turn people off. Nobody's going to like that.
Right, but the thing is, he's trying to figure out where you draw the line, and the thing
Yes,
is,
I understand.
utilitarians don't really draw
All
a
right,
line,
so I'm
and
gonna
so
no.
that's
So
like
I'm
the
gonna
immediate
draw the
bullet,
line for you. You
silver
ready?
bullet.
No, it's not a bullet. So I'm gonna tell you how. I said what it is in the comments, but specifically what you want to be concerned about is, say if you destroy the inalienable rights of individuals, okay, in order to get some sort of marginal utility. Okay. The problem is that when you cross that line, what that means is now there's no line. Okay. And by establishing no line, then at that point, you can basically start carte blanche taking away the rights of all sorts of people, which you can observe by the Human Development Index that does not result in a better society. Right? People's lives get worse when you don't respect the inalienable rights of individuals, and that can be empirically shown. Okay? So strictly making the, what if we sexually assault a single person as opposed to we sexually, and then it benefits society infinitely? That also doesn't work because now you've removed the line. That means lots of people could be sexually assaulted. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a good argument. It's kind of what I'm trying to say to you. Anyway, did you get started on the book I sent you?
Yeah, I've been starting to listen to it. I still got a lot of way to go.
That's
for
fine.
Sure.
Go ahead, just during your off time, read it. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Based.
No, I appreciate it.
Based. I like that.
Yeah. So you have to understand when we're arguing. I'm not a virtue ethicist or a deontologist. I think that stuff is dumb, sort of. I think it's important when it comes to law because I think that law is very different in the way that it's used for moral practices. I think that we use law as a rigid standard so that we infer something more than it's something more than morality because each person has their own view of ethics and their own view of morality.
Yep.
But the reason law has to be rigid is so that we all follow it. Because if we don't follow it, we're going to have chaos because everybody has different
I
subjective
agree.
moral values.
I agree.
And so I think that the anarchist position is just that live and let live. It's voluntarism. And our big problem is just that we don't agree with the utilitarian calculus that allows for laws to be flexible in allowing for certain individuals to be harmed and, for others to benefit from it. And so then we get into like all these different things like DEI and like diversity hiring and all this stuff. And it's just a mess of it. But we want the law to be fair and consistent all the way throughout.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Well, I agree. I would also want it to be consistent. Why do you want an anarchy society or anarcho-capitalist society?
because I believe that in an anarchy society, when we have voluntarism, it will be the best for the most amount of people. But most importantly, it'll be best for me.
Okay. You think it'll be best for you by having an anarchy society?
Yes. Because I value my freedom, and I value the people close to me to have their freedom.
So you're saying that the reason why is because of freedom?
Yeah.
Like your idea of like what's best for you is on the basis of freedom.
Yes.
Okay. Would you say that a quality of living standard is also important alongside freedom? Because like I could, for example, make you free in an uncharted island, and leave you to die. I mean, you're free. You're 100% free. In fact, you would have no government. But, if you just die within a few days, it's probably not super fun, right?
Yeah, freedom in pre-17th century, pre-17th century society is way different than freedom today. They're very different. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just freedom, right? It's freedom with a quality of living standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Preferably, yeah.
Do you agree with the founding fathers of the concept of establishing inalienable rights such as life, liberty, property, pursuit of happiness?
Yes.
Nice. So it'd be fair to say that it's good to have more life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness, like more people.
Yeah, it's better to have, more private property, more pursuit of happiness. Yeah.
How do you feel about the Civil Rights Act?
Okay, the Civil Rights Act, remind me, that's like that is that what keeps people from discrimination?
Mm-hmm.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Businesses can't discriminate on basis of someone's race, age, caste, color, their religion.
I would far prefer have society. Yeah, true. I would far prefer for society to, come to the agreement on what we discriminate rather than the law, because I think society is far more flexible.
Well, hold on. The reason why you care about freedom, right, is because you want to be free to do stuff, right? It makes you more satisfied, effectively, right?
Yes.
Okay. And having a society that has less freedom is a worse society.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there's a society where the group of people all decided to subjugate a minority, you would say that's not okay. That's antithetical to freedom.
Yes.
Okay. So we create this really powerful government that says, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Okay. Is that not more freedom?
No, so ideally we would have multiple communities with different ideas. So like maybe I think that
so you should
this is where we might disagree.
We should
where
have
I think
like
that
the racist community and then the not racist community, and
Yeah,
I guess
we
like
talked about
sometimes
this.
black people just can't be in that community.
Yeah, so we talked about this before on one of the times we were talking. But it's this idea that, out of like, if we did like go into some anarchy society where we had like 50 states and like 50 whatever small governing bodies, and then one of them just decided to be racist, I think that for the short term, I think that it would suck for that one area. But I think that the market would, completely, they would outcompete the racism.
Really, you think?
Essentially. Yeah. It's unprofitable to be racist. It's unprofitable.
Really, you think?
Yeah, it is. Are you going to make an argument that slavery is like economically beneficial?
My sweet summer child. In the South,
Wait,
most people were white. Okay. And most people at the time in the South didn't want to be eating next to a black person. It was seen as lower class. And given that 80% of the people were white, restaurants and businesses had a vested interest in making sure black people were excluded because that was what people thought. People would not go to a restaurant that accepted black people. So actually, the exact opposite is the case. By not discriminating, it specifically made your business worse in the South. So this, by saying that you don't like the Civil Rights Act because it's revoking freedom, you have to consider that by not having the Civil Rights Act, that actually reduces freedom overall, right? Because I would say that black people and other minorities not being allowed in specific communities and they're allowed in others would tell me that is a less free society.
Well, I think I agree with you on the assumption that if these things are lined up, there are definitely some problems here. I think that the biggest problem is, first of all, the involuntary association we've had with African Americans, such as, buying them from Africa and then having them shipped over to America in order to be slaves. I think that was obviously the first part where things went wrong. I think that if they naturally immigrated to America, we wouldn't have as much tension nowadays as we did back then. And that's probably the main problem. There's obviously some underlying tension because of the slave trade that we engaged in, hundreds of years ago. And that's the main problem. But I think that we've obviously surpassed that. Like, nowadays, that's completely shunned in society. Racists are far and few between.
Why do you think it's shunned in society now?
I mean, okay. I can only speak about my experience and the things I've seen. But everything I've seen online in my life, racism is bad. Like, I think the mass majority of people agree that racism is bad.
That wasn't the case in the 1960s, and it wasn't the case in the 1950s. What changed that made it not acceptable anymore?
The Reformation. I don't agree with it. I don't think it was law. I think it was the Reformation. I think it was Christian ideology.
You don't think that the Civil Rights Act had anything to do with that?
Of course, the Civil Rights Act had something to do with it, but it's like it's an expedient something. It's like you're immediately getting rid of a bad problem.
Well, yeah,
and then
I
you're
want
gonna
more
push
freedom,
on,
not less. And the
create
way that
a
I do the
long-term
freedom
problem.
is that I have a restriction on being racist to people. Right? Because I want as many people to be able to contribute in society as possible.
But the problem is that there are negative consequences when you create laws
What's the
that aren't
negative consequence of
adaptable.
that?
Well, the negative consequences of it are, for example, like you wouldn't agree with this, but I would say that what is it? Diversity hiring is a problem because it gets rid of meritocracy. And you were talking to Socrates about this, and I know we disagree about this point, but I think that it increases tension because when people of other races see certain races, benefiting from certain programs, there's a tension there because they start to get angry at the race when they should just get angry at the system itself.
We can't even be talking about affirmative action because we're talking about the Civil Rights Act, right? And your very own metric was that you want there to be more freedom in society. And by having a bunch of racists in society that can discriminate against minorities fundamentally does remove freedoms from people. That makes the world less free. So you can actually place restrictions on people so that way that they can't discriminate against minorities, which in turn makes it more free. This destroys the concept of anarcho-capitalism. This is a big problem for anarcho-capitalism. I mean, forget about the environment, forget about the governments, forget about all that. This is like a basic, like you can see yourself that this does not decrease freedoms. It increases freedoms.
It doesn't increase freedom. It only increases freedom if it's stopping racists from engaging in involuntary action. I don't think
that the Civil Rights Act did nothing regarding the freedom of minorities?
We already agreed on this. I already told you it did. I already told you that it had an
you're
immediate
contradicting
consequence.
yourself. You're now contradicting yourself. Within one sentence, you're contradicting yourself.
But do you know what I said after that?
You were talking about how it does not increase freedoms, but then it does increase freedoms.
I said that it has an immediate effect that is positive, but also has long-term consequences. And then we disagreed on the long-term
why not
consequences.
legislate that? What's the problem? It worked before.
Because so we can do all this, but it's just highly inefficient. If we just
What?
let
No,
society
it
and the
worked.
market
That's the
decide,
problem.
it's much
That's the problem
faster
with your
and more
argument.
efficient.
No, but it wasn't. It wasn't, and I explained why. We did the market
Okay.
approach. It worked for decades where they could be racist towards minorities. And it was economically advantageous to do that, not the other way around. I understand that you've read your economics textbook and you've read your Misey's book, and that they say they sit there and talk about like economics man who has like rational decision making, but that's not behavioral economics, and that's not how general economics works. Right? It's like, yeah, I guess if you're like trying to teach Econ 101, then yeah, general economics man kind of works. It works great, but not everybody is a rational actor when it comes to like their profits. Do you understand that?
Rational in the sense that they all want profit. And that as people get more intelligent, they realize that violence is unprofitable. I think we're still learning.
I understand that, but I've just given you the example exactly how the market was not going to fix it in the South, because most customers did not want to be seated next to a minority. That's the case. That's in fact the truth. That's the reality. Right? So we want to think that every person is going to be economics man and be like, I want to make some money off of these minorities. No. What they're going to do is that they're going to discriminate against the minority of people, so that way they can satisfy the majority, so that way that they get the most amount of money. Right? They're not going to be looking at it in the long term as like, hey, all of these people can actually be customers. It was other economists that came up to that decision, and that's why there's an example of the Civil Rights Act with the mix of of civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King.
Okay. Well, I still believe that society ended racism and society ended slavery.
Oh boy.
And the reason
My
why I
sweet
think this
summer
is
child.
because what is it that abolished slavery?
What is it that abolished slavery?
Yes. In America. US.
There was the Emancipation Proclamation, and then a really big war, giant war. Millions of people died. And then a lot of people still didn't want to acknowledge it. They still possessed disparities, but like slavery was technically ended at that point. But there were even still areas that had slaves. And so, there were like little pockets where federally had to mandate that it was not okay. And then later on, people were still being discriminated against, so they created the Civil Rights Act to prevent discrimination in businesses, so that way minorities could contribute in society.
Yeah. And so what I think initiated all of this was the
Force.
Civil War, when
Lots
the
and lots
North
of
was
force.
basically, lots of force. And I think we can agree that
Monopoly
the
of
way
force,
it was,
if you will, like a big, giant, big, powerful
I know, big daddy government.
that
I get it. I get it.
That said, you don't get to be racist anymore. We're going to put you in jail if you're racist.
I agree.
Which
I agree that the way
I
it was
completely
handled
agree
is
with,
bad.
because that no. I'm saying that handling of the situation is good, because the end result is that it makes people more free. I'm not going to sit there and wait for the invisible hand to stop discriminating against minorities. That's going to take way too long. We could just fix it right now, and it worked. We did the very thing, and it worked, right? It's not okay to be racist, openly racist towards minorities. Why? Because we had a civil rights movement that said, no, you're not allowed. And then we made that federal law. We put it ensconced in stone. That's what it is. Now there's more freedom.
Right, but you just said a couple minutes ago that the Civil War resulted in like countless deaths. So many deaths. The Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there would be less death and suffering overall if we never went to war?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, and wouldn't that be better if there was less suffering and deaths?
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if the North just avoided war and showed the South that over time they were far superior technologically when they allowed people to live
Well, they
freely,
did. That's
especially
why
black people.
additional arguments were being made against slavery. That's unironically why. Like that was even written in a book. It was actually a trilogy book that I read by Rothbard called "Conceived in Liberty," which is like telling the story of the inception of the United States from like the 1500s all the way into 1779. But what's your point?
My point is that if we didn't have the war, we would have avoided, a bunch of unnecessary suffering and death.
Sure,
But
but
it
the
sounds
problem
like,
is that
but it
people
sounds
are.
like you were okay with
But
going to
people
war.
still, yeah, because I want to live in a society where people are more free, not less. If we did not go to war, people would have been less free. And just like you have argued, right, we want people to be more free.
Yeah. But again, I don't think that war makes I don't think that war is justified to make people more free. I think that you can only
What?
you
Yeah,
can
it
only no.
Really?
Really.
Do you think that we should have gone and stopped the Nazis? Should we just let them be?
That depends how we did it.
Really?
I don't think there's anything
no.
wrong.
You're
if-
sitting there saying the war thing. So do you think that we should stop the Nazis? Very simple.
Well, I'll answer if you let me explain.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I would say that yes, we can go fight the Nazis if people agree to do it. If people don't agree to do it, then no, we shouldn't go fight the Nazis. And what I mean by that is, as you would guess, voluntary. I think a lot of people would voluntarily, get up and decide to go fight the Nazis. But to be fair, it's not our problem.
Isn't
and
that
we
an
can't be
aggression on the
expected to
Nazis?
govern the entire world.
Wait, isn't that an aggression
What?
on the Nazis?
No, it's self-defense.
Where were the Nazis again?
Where's Germany? Over in the European area?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, they were aggressing against our allies, but they weren't aggressing against us.
No, but you're allowed to defend your ally.
Oh. So,
I don't think we disagree on this.
are you in favor of NATO?
Only if it's voluntary.
What is different?
Which is not.
What is? Yeah, it is. What is different? What is different between your society and just current society?
Bro, literally, my entire position is just voluntarism. You know everything I'm gonna say if it's voluntary or involuntary. That's it. That's as simple as I get. It's just voluntarism.
Unless your
If you do
allies are
something
involved.
that
Then it's almost like you're morally obligated, right? Which would justify NATO. That would justify governments. You would even argue that a government might actually even be necessary as long as it makes more freedom, because that's your predicate as to why you even care about these things.
Well, so first and foremost, I'm an egoist, but second of all, I believe in a voluntary legal system. So I don't believe in imposing. So in the case of the Nazis, they were aggressing first. They attacked first,
Mm-hmm.
and if
weren't
they were a
attacking
threat
us.
big enough, no. But if they're aggressing on
But they were
somebody,
attacking our
if
allies.
they're aggressing on somebody else, then you're allowed to use
Oh, so you're
self-defense
obligated to help your friends.
in order to force them to pay restitution. You can do that. In the same way that in an anarchist society, that if there's a criminal that kills somebody who's not part of an insurance agency can go up and prison that person and force them to restitute the people they victimized.
Yeah.
Even if they're not part of the society, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not allowed to aggress. You're just not.
No, but you are if they're hurting your friends.
So I think we're using the word aggression differently. The way that anarchists define aggression is like an initial force of violence. So self-defense wouldn't
Yeah,
be considered aggression.
So, okay, so Would you say that it's an aggression to discriminate against minorities from being able to participate in society? Is that an aggression?
As if it's voluntary, no.
Well, the minority
So like,
didn't agree
so
to
like
that.
for example,
No. The minority didn't agree to that.
didn't agree to what? Somebody's opinion
To
on them?
being discriminated against. They want to participate in society, and it is made in such a way where they can't participate in society, and so they can't do so. They didn't agree to that. They can't control being a minority. They're just a minority. Right? So is that an aggression?
Can I tell you a story real quick?
Sure.
When I was a kid, I used to bike around my neighborhood, and there was this other kid who also biked around the neighborhood. And for some reason, and I have no idea fucking why, this kid hated me. Every time we rode past each other, he just glared at me. And then one time he just started cursing at me. And all we did was ride our bikes past each other. And you know, I always wondered why he got so angry at me. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, I can't force him to change his opinion of me. That kid probably hated me for a while. And then he probably hated a lot of people around him. But guess what? I can't do anything about that kid. He's just going to be a hateful kid for the rest of his life. And that's going to hurt him. That's not going to hurt me. Because I moved on from that kid.
Unless, of course, the community
okay?
is all about hating on you specifically.
But the thing is, the kid
Hold on,
never
no,
attacked
hold on.
me.
What if it's like super cool that the entire community hates you?
So what? Like, people are allowed to have opinions. I don't know what you want to do about that.
Sure, but like, I mean, can they take your stuff? Can they beat you up? Can they do all those things?
No, that's violence. No, they
Interesting,
can't do that.
right? So there should be protections.
Yeah, there should be legal protections
So what's
against
protecting
violence,
you,
yeah.
anarcho-capitalist?
Oh, come on, bro. What are
A
you
club?
doing? Listen, I know the government currently has a law that protects us. I know that. I just
Yeah.
think it's inefficient. And I
How
think
so?
I think that it's a non-consensual government that we're using.
That's
currently.
correct. It's very not consensual.
know this.
I completely agree. It is not
But
consensual.
you did-
And now here's the part
What?
that'll make your brain explode. It's completely
That's right.
justified because it makes more freedom, not
my
less.
No, it doesn't.
How do you
Listen,
justify?
so the point
There's
of my
so many
story-
problems with this concept. How do you justify contract theory? Contract law.
What?
How do you
Why are you
justify
bringing
it?
contract law into this?
Because it's amazing. It's amazing.
Bro, I'm an anarchist. I'm the contract theorist, not you.
Huh? Yeah, well, I know. I've read
you,
my
bro.
anarchy books too.
Yeah,
You guys
more
hold
than
it
me.
very near and dear.
But you understand the point of my story, right? People can hate each other.
You have a right
but we
to hate
can't stop
somebody,
them from
but
doing
nobody
that.
has a right to discriminate against you based off of inalienable characteristics you can't control.
No, they can do that.
No, they
because they're
can't.
allowed to
No,
do-
by law, they
can.
cannot do that. That's
Where's
the point.
aggression?
That's
Where's
the point.
aggression? Point to me the aggression. Where's the aggression?
Where you go into a restaurant and you say, "Hi, I would like to sit here with my wife," and they say, "No biracial couples." That's an aggression.
That's not an aggression.
Yes,
it would be
it
bad,
is.
but it's not an aggression.
That's horrible. I
Because
don't
it's-
want to live in a society like that. That's less freedom. That makes society worse. The only reason why you care
do you
about
say-
aggression versus
Bro.
not aggression is whether or not something is free enough. And the reality is that the society that has the restrictions literally makes more freedom.
Listen, we have a fundamental difference in how we see people. I think
I'm
the vast
aware.
majority of
I'm
people
aware.
aren't bad people. I think they think about the things in their immediate surroundings, okay? The majority of people aren't bad. They just think about themselves and they just want to live a violent, peaceful life. This is the majority of people, okay?
Unless, of course,
the majority
that's
of people are
not the
not
case.
racist.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case in the 1950s and the 1960s. Most people in the South were racist as fuck.
Bro, there was reasons for that, okay?
What?
They
No,
had
there's
families
not.
in poverty
No,
and-
there's not. The only reason
They-
was an old tribal atavism that they have to stick to that actually had no economic or philosophical or moral merit. It was just tribalism. It's just atavism. It's just total nonsense that doesn't actually output to society being more free. It makes society less free. It makes society worse by your metric.
I think we just have a different definition of freedom, because I see freedom as voluntarism, and I think you don't. So it's probably just a definitional disagreement.
9 times out of 10, I'm going to apply a colloquial use of a definition. I'm never going to operate in bad faith regarding definitions.
Okay. But okay. Wait, this might be it. You might be arguing for positive freedoms, and I might be arguing for negative freedoms.
No,
right?
I argue for both negative freedoms and positive freedoms.
Okay, right.
I just come to a conclusion that it's like, all right, I remember when I was a libertarian, I was like, why do I believe in this thing, right? And what happens is that when I'm like, okay, well, why do I believe in this thing? Why do I believe in freedom? Because I was like, well, really what it came down to is I thought, okay, well, there are things that if people could live those things out, that they would become more satisfied. I'm like, I don't know why that is, but that seems to be the best possible scenario that I can imagine. Right? Because it's like everybody has their own desires as to what they want versus not want. And I think that like a society that facilitates that, that's the best society. Does that make sense? Most freedom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
so
we have the same base foundation.
Yes.
But we have different routes to getting there. I think that's what it is.
Well,
because we both said we want freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have different opinions on the best way to get to maximizing freedom.
Yeah.
I think it's through a rigid anarchy legal system, and you think it's through a sort of consequential maximizing freedom.
Well, I don't think
standard.
you do, because like even you yourself said that we were justified in stopping the Nazis in the sense that they were aggressing against our friends, which would basically justify the existence of NATO. It would also justify the existence of you as a nation voluntarily going over and involuntarily kicking the ass of the Nazis. Trust me, they did not voluntarily request you to kick their ass. They did not.
No, but they attacked
but
first.
That's correct.
Saying.
Correct. But they
shot
didn't
first.
attack us. That's my point. They didn't attack us. So us getting involved into something is not required for there to be an aggression against you. It's enough for it as an aggression against your friends, which is an argument in favor of social contracts, the social contract theory. Because it's affecting more than just you. It's affecting you and your friends. Because we're social species.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you even argued that we're morally obligated to do so.
Yeah, I think that, I guess what you would call self-defense aggression, I would be okay with self-defense aggression, if that's what you want to call it. That's not what ANCAPs call it, but if you want to call it that, then sure, yeah. I'm for self-defense
I don't call it that either. It's you doing that.
Okay.
I'm not against. The problem is that I understand the necessity of aggression sometimes, right? I don't apply this like dogmatic worldview where it must be one or the other. I look at things in a pragmatic way.
I also look through this lens consequentially outside of the legal system. So, for example, with the trolley problem, if it was just me and nobody else, then I would make a decision that might go against anarchist ethics.
What would you
I just might.
Would you pull it?
I don't know. See, actually, I've been trying to think about this for a while, and I don't know if you want to go this deep, but I've been trying to figure out the meaning of life. And I know that sounds fucking cringe, but as long as I was a kid, I always wanted to figure out the meaning of life and why we were alive. And I think it has something to do with choice. And so when it comes to the trolley problem, I don't know if I'm making the wrong choice whether I kill 5 people or whether I kill 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, what does it really mean for someone to live? How do we know what is valuable in the world?
Well, you would actually like my answer.
To us.
You would like my answer, and you'd probably adopt it.
Well, would you kill the one person to save the 5?
Get the fuck away. I didn't tie them, nor did. Nor
Oh,
my
you just walk
responsible
away.
plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I just walk away. Dude, I'm not going to be responsible for someone's death. I'm sorry.
It's not. Yeah, it's not your
happening.
responsibility.
Yeah,
It's not your
I'm
responsibility.
literally just walking away. I'm not going to deal with it. There's
Okay,
no
so
way I'd be able to
What's your
sleep at
moral
night.
framework?
Hmm?
Do you believe in moral imperatives, or do you believe in yourself?
Well, my moral framework is a little complicated. We'd have to spend some time talking about that. But basically, like,
Can I
I
convince
believe
you to
that
be an
all moral
egoist?
systems, I believe that all moral systems come from a desire of survival. And the concept of survival is not a desirable notion. It's an entropic notion.
Entropic. What do you
Mhm.
mean by this?
As in, it is dictated by the basic laws of entropy of the universe, the universal entropy. Meaning, the desire of survival isn't something that we inherently desire. It must be that way because of just how it naturally works. It has to do that. You don't have a choice in the matter.
But entropy tends towards chaos. So why would this make you want to live?
Well, so it's what happens is that through the chaotic systems, right, it's caused organization to occur, and then the entropic desire of survival entirely through mechanistic means.
That sounds counterintuitive.
I know, but it makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it
no,
does.
it fucking doesn't.
Do you need me to
Wait,
explain
so,
it in
okay,
detail?
okay. Is this how you derive your morals? You think that it comes from like the law of
Well,
entropy?
it's predicated
basically?
off of effectively, like, to make it simpler, like, it's predicated off of survival. All moral systems predicate off of that.
Okay, so then I would ask you, why is survival valuable? And this is something I've been
It's not that
struggling
it's
with.
valuable versus not valuable. It's entropic. It must.
Why must it?
Because it's entropic. It is through entropic processes that we even desire it.
Okay, so you're saying that from the chaos of the universe, arose order through random chance. And because of this, some random chance was created into our subconscious that made us want to live, basically.
Yeah, I mean, evolutionary pathways took place, whereas like things that desired to live continued to live, whereas things that did not died off. And so we come through billions and billions of years of that. But honestly, it's not even a matter of a desire. It just happens mechanistically. The example that I've brought up is that it has to come from, if you think about a single-celled organism that possesses some cilia. Cilia is just, little hairs that provide locomotion. Should I place a hot poker next to it? The little cilia just start, moving, and then it swims away. It doesn't have a neuronal connection to think, I need to run. It doesn't really have that, right? What happens is that
It's
you
just
have
reflexive.
The heat. Well, the heat is exuding in terms of entropy, is exuding outward to the cell wall, which then causes a series of proteins. To touch a cell wall, which then causes the series of proteins to excite that then allow the specific proteins of the cilia to then spin, and then it moves away. If it did not have this, it would likely die. And so it would not propagate its species as a result.
Do you think that it would be okay? Why don't you hit backspace?
What?
Oh, sorry. Backspace is a word I used. I just mean self-deletion.
Oh, okay. Well, take for example, if somebody does possess that notion, let me ask you, if you try to punch them, do they flinch?
Yeah.
Yes, because survival is entropic.
Okay, so you're saying survival is instinctual, but what about what's rational? What do you think would be rational? What Wouldn't backspace be rational?
Well, so like the single-celled eukaryote, we also operate under the same mechanistic means, except the difference is that we're now a social species. And because we're a social species, it's much, much more complicated for humans than it is for the single-celled eukaryote. But that just basically means it's that with extra steps. Does that make sense?
I guess. Let me get some clarity. I'll put this in like a utilitarian framework. Do you think the average person derives more pleasure or pain throughout their entire existence?
Well, it depends. Depends on the person.
Yeah. So let's say that the 40% bottom of people that don't feel as much pleasure, like they feel far more suffering than they do pleasure. I would include myself in this group, but let's say the bottom 40% of people who feel
I think
far more.
you don't give yourself enough credit. I think you love life.
I don't. But
All right. Sorry.
but I have a different reason for that.
Okay.
But no, it's cool. But it's like that's a whole other conversation. But what I mean to say is what would you say the justification for life is for the bottom 40% of people who suffer more than they feel pleasure?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
What is the rational justification for living for this bottom 40% of people who derive more suffering than they do pleasure throughout their entire life?
Well, there's more to life than just the individual suffering, right? There's other people that want them
Tell
to
me.
exist because we're a social species.
Please tell me the fucking answer. I've been searching for this for ages.
Well, we're a social species. Other people want you to exist. Unless if there's zero people that want you to exist. That would be a very sad
And
existence. You got to talk to a psychologist.
Who gives a but who gives
Go
a
join
fuck
a-
about what
go
other
join a
people
local-
think?
Well, I'm saying they want you to. They themselves derive selfish pleasure in your existence.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But what about you?
So that's me personally?
No, not you. Like you colloquially, the person who's suffering you. What about them?
I mean, like, I gave the
No
example
more-
there,
yeah.
but like another example is, have you looked up at the sky? It's actually kind of
Sometimes it
amazing,
looks
right?
cool.
That you're sitting there and you're staring at the stuff that is you, the universe, and you are it, the universe, staring back and pondering its existence. I mean, it's a pattern, but it's fucking incredible. How's that not amazing? That makes my ape brain
I agree,
chemicals
it's
go,
amazing.
whoa, that's nuts. That is so cool. I mean, that's just the ape brain chemicals telling you that, but yeah, that's one thing.
And you know what's
I
cool?
like.
Super random, but you might agree with me here. Dude, have you ever seen when it rains when it's sunny outside?
Yeah.
Fucking amazing, dude. It's
Yeah.
probably like the coolest weather thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
It's just completely sunny and it's raining. That looks amazing.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Jesse Peterson, amazing. Yeah. But
I'm not even gonna do an impression.
giggling
of it,
like a
but-
schoolgirl.
No, because I
Stop
just
giggling like
I
that.
love Jesse Lee Peterson. That guy's so psychotic.
He's funny.
Yeah,
He's funny.
he's a funny
for
guy.
sure. He's a good meme. He's a good memer.
That's pretty much all it's worth.
Yeah.
He says
I
the
think we can
worst
agree on
things.
that.
Yeah.
I think we can agree that
Anyway,
he's a great memer.
what I think
and
you need
that's
to
about
do, right, unironically, like, how long is that book, Austerity by Mark Blith? Do you remember? What is it, like 9-10 hours?
it. A little bit. I think over 10 hours maybe.
Bro, can you just finish that book? Just take the time during lunch. Stop watching your YouTube videos. Just go over it, okay?
You want me to stop watching my ANCAP propaganda Liquid Zulu videos? Are you serious?
Yes, just get some perspective.
That's a big ask.
Because you're gonna, because I'm telling you, it's gonna make you grow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, next time we talk, we got to talk more about morality, which is my domain. I'm not really good at, anarchism. I'm good at philosophy. That's what I like to talk about.
That's cool. I
Next
like
time
that.
we talk, we got to talk about morality. I want to convince you to be an egoist like myself.
Okay.
I think I can convince you.
I'll have to look up a little bit about what you mean by egoism. But yeah, I've read several philosophy books. I don't recall the term egoism, but I don't know. Maybe I did read it and just don't remember it.
Bro, it's super simple. I'll explain it to you. You don't gotta worry about anything. I'll make it
bro.
super simple.
Okay.
No, egoism's based.
So you got
You
got,
dumb
you got
cross
anything?
looking.
Yeah. I less than 3 Jesus
no.
says egoism sounds insufferable. Anyway, so what do you got anything else? I always try to give you the last word.
No, I appreciate the talk. More people can talk if they want to. I appreciate the conversation. I just wanted to get your opinion on the videos, but yeah, we definitely got to set up a debate between me, you, Sithis, and one other dude. We got to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna get that with Daniel Hume. That's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be amazing.
Daniel, wait, the YouTuber?
No, Daniel Hume,
Wait, all I can think of
the moderator.
is
not
sorry,
Professor
sorry,
Dave
sorry.
explains.
No, I thought you were talking about. Is his name Humor? He's like a philosophy
I don't know.
professor that talks online about philosophy.
No clue
Whatever.
what you're talking about.
Different guy. Yeah. Let's get a. Yeah. Let's try to get something going.
Yeah, good talk, dude.
Good conversation, bro.
Yeah, and dude, don't listen to King Sithis that I'm somehow like bad faith. I'm not bad faith. Okay, get it out of your head. Right? I ask challenging questions, but no, my goal isn't to win a debate, which, by the way, he alluded to. He alluded that because he was sitting there coming up with ways on how to win the debate. Do you understand how infuriating it is where he's like, oh, I don't want to win a debate, but there he is concocting ways on how to win a debate.
Never attribute malice what you can attribute
With ignorance.
to something.
Ignorance.
Ignorance.
Good talk.
I'm never gonna
Thank you.
assume somebody that has malice. I
Yeah.
think people just have different beliefs, and some people are dogmatic, some people aren't, and it's whatever. I don't think you're bad faith.
That's cool,
I just
man.
like talking with people.
Yeah, cool. Good
Yeah.
talk, dude.
Cool. See ya.
Yep, see it. All right, so that's 227. What do we call it? Anarcho-capitalism versus democracy? Democratic society? Or like, what do I call it? Like just government. Just government. All right. Holy crap, we got a lot of people who want to speak. Who was first? God, that's a lot of people. I don't know who was first. Well, I'm not doing you, because Grand Wizard, and the reason why I can't do you is because you're a minor, and I am not, for your sake, going to humiliate you on YouTube, right? It's just, trust me. I'm doing you a favor, right? That means that when you are 20 years old, your job doesn't look you up on the crazy thing that you said when you were 16 years old that showed up on 1stAmender stream. All right? I'm doing you a favor. Trust me. It's a good idea. Let's go. I'll bring in, let's bring in progressive popery. Totally arbitrary why I did that. Come on up, progressive. You're muted right now. How you doing, buddy? Progressive, you are currently muted. You need to unmute yourself. How are you doing, progressive popery?
Hi, I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good.
Thank you very much for having me on. Sorry about that. I'm still used to trying to get used to the whole Discord. That's not just like DMs kind of thing.
Yeah, I get you. So,
yeah,
what do you
okay.
want to debate about?
Sorry. So I have two topics that you can pick which one. It doesn't have to be both. My first one was going back to your syllogism. I think it's rock solid. I can't pick it apart, frankly. But my question to you is the point simply to show that it's logically coherent, or is it like meant to like? Because I don't get the perception that you're trying to use this to like destroy people's like religions or shit. Sorry, I won't swear. Sorry. religions or stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
So
I'm a
the
sorry, go
problem
ahead.
is that the argument regarding religions has been one just steeped for thousands of years. And the one concern that I've just had is that people have shaped their entire understanding of a society. They have changed the way that they vote. They have changed the way that they behave. They have changed the way that they treat their children. They have changed the way that they treat others on the basis of something that can't be empirically shown to exist. Right?
Sure, I agree with that.
I find that extremely problematic. And, you know, I've read... I read my Bible, I read the Quran, I read the Bhagavad Gita, I've read, you know, various religious texts, you know, to try to like understand religion and what arguments that they are coming from. You know, I used to be religious. I completely lost it after reading the Bible. And then I started, you know, reading, you know, various philosophical texts such as Aristotle's Organon. There's like general philosophy, you know, like I remember I read like Masters of Greek Thought, Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates.
Sure.
And there's some a little bit of a libertarianism or libertarian type thinkers that I kind of derived off of. And, you know, I've also debated a lot of very, very religious people. Right. And so, it was so funny because they were just like, you know, I need you to just, you know, can you put your argument in a syllogism? They're just intentionally being obtuse, like specifically designing their argument in such a way that, you know, that I would not be able to provide something. And you know what? I was just like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to make a syllogism that is just going to annihilate anybody who has a God argument. I'm going to make it to where there is nowhere God can hide. No hiding place whatsoever, even beyond space-time. And the way that I was able to do it was the syllogism that you observe there through a lot of different reading of different texts that I came to that conclusion. And so now my next question is like, okay, well, let's put it to the void. You know, can we, you know, see if there's problems with it, right? Because I haven't heard other people make this argument.
I don't think the problem is that there's a problem with it. I think it's just... I'm trying to find the right way of saying this without coming off as ignorant or stupid. And I'm not trying to say that to imply, like, I'm going to say something racist. I mean more in the sense of, like, I don't want to convey an idea that sounds muddled or nonsensical. How familiar are you with critical biblical scholars?
What?
Sorry, critical biblical scholars, like critical biblical scholarship.
Not familiar. Go ahead.
Okay, so the reason I mention this is, and I'll just super quick background on myself, not to just so you get an idea of who you're talking to. That sounds so condescending. That's not what I meant. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, you're good.
I'm Catholic. I'm progressive leaning politically, but I came from a liberal childhood to a very conservative, apologetic like youth, like young adulthood, and then I've kind of swung. You know, the pendulum has swung back. So I'm kind of like in the middle of things. And then the reason I mention this is to open up my worldview and to get a better understanding of. Some people use the term deconstruction, you know, to like decide or trying to figure out which part of your faith is true or which, you know, what's good, what's not. Some people end up just leaving religion altogether. Some people like me co-opt it into, you know, different understandings than they did before. And so I mentioned the scholarship because my thought was, well, I have to look at the scholarship. What are they talking about the Bible? You know, whether like, is it true? What parts are true? And what do we mean by truth, et cetera, et cetera. And with some of the scholarship, there's this one scholar who I like named Dan McClellan. He's on YouTube. I'm not sure. And that sounds terrible. But anyway, so he is a actual scholar. And he has this podcast called Data Over Dogma, where he talks about different parts of the Bible and so on, and how like they relate to the actual data of biblical scholarship and archaeology versus the dogmas of Christian apologetics, different religions, so on and so forth. And there's this one episode where they talk about religion as make-believe. Essentially, religion isn't an intellectual pursuit. It's kind of like a cognitive thing that sits over top of there intellectual worldview. Essentially, religion isn't. It's not. Yes, it can be related to the intellect, but it's inherently not an intellectual position. It's more of a cognitive mode. It's like a HUD, like a map that you kind of can overlay over reality. So I think the
Okay.
problem is, and the reason I mention this is I think that's why your argument, your syllogism, as rock solid as it is, if someone were to really think about it and use their intellect, they would probably say, yeah, this is rock solid. Maybe I should reconsider my beliefs. But for a lot of people, it's like you said, yeah, they vote differently, they raise their children differently, they live differently, in some ways for better and in many ways for worse. I'm not going to dispute that. But I think the problem is you're dealing with a method of cognitive development that I think does have some evolutionary traces. Like it's part of our evolutionary development. So I think while the argument will work individually, it's never going to work on a mass level because religion and the cognitive development of the human mind with religion kind of sidesteps that entirely. People will join any religion and join any movement regardless of whether it's intellectually true. They'll do it because of how it comports to that cognitive map.
Well-
Sorry, I know I've been ranting. Also,
Yeah, well, if it makes you feel any better, my goal isn't really to convince every single person. I don't even think that's possible for the points.
sure,
that
and I'm
you
not
brought-
saying you are.
for the points that you brought up. I guess like my thoughts is like, okay, well, I mean, honestly, I just like really enjoy arguing.
Sure.
I think arguing is
and
just
that's cool.
interesting, and like hearing out people's premises is very good. And I just have a very good argument as to why God doesn't exist, and I proudly say that I can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And
Which is fair.
that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I mean, I guess like whether or not that somebody wants to, take it or leave it, well, that's up to them.
I guess the question is, what would you? I think what I'm trying to point out is we can't get rid of the whole cognitive map entirely. That part of human development, it may go away with future human evolution. I'm not saying it won't. I mean, the fact is, if you look at human development in religion, for the most part,
what do you think caused like a person to be religiously minded, like from an evolutionary standpoint? What do you think that is?
Well, okay, so I'm not an expert, nor am I well read. So this is purely from the head.
Yeah, I'm just saying like what you think it is.
For sure. I think it's largely a social thing. I think religion largely is like, because we are social animals, we needed a way to quickly identify safeties and non-safeties. We also had a psychological need for, I don't want to say storytelling is a psychological need, but I do think that that does play a large role. Because when you look at religion, when you think about religion, it is kind of like a one-stop shop for all the things you need. Okay, I don't want to say you need as if they are good things. I'm just saying, like, for a religious person, their whole religion covers how they should think politically, how they should think about social issues, how they should think about moral issues, how they should think about how the world exists, about their place in it. It's kind of like like in Call of Duty. It's like a existing class. It's like it's not something you have to make yourself. I mean, obviously, people end up becoming spiritual and they make their own religious practices. I do think it's largely a social thing. It's largely part of our social development.
You know what I think?
And
it is?
actually, go ahead.
I think that people were scared and didn't understand things, and they were there in caves at night and could not see. And there were people that looked at the bush and saw rustling in the bush, and some of them were like, "Me no scared, there nothing there." And then they go check, and then it turns out there was a predatory animal in there, a tiger, a panther, or something that mauled them, right? And then they died that day. So the me no scared one died, whereas the one that was me scared, me not know what in bush, they developed it basically made an evolutionary advantage to superstition, right? Because it's like bushes rustling doesn't mean that there's a panther in there. But that's a very good assumption from a survival standpoint, right? And so that's where we start to do that. And I think also like the fact that we are a social species, that when we saw our, our people die, we really, it was hard for us to reconcile that. And so we tried to
Right.
come up with tribal atavisms to explain why, right? Because we're really immensely conscious. And so we constantly wonder a why. When, to be fair, right, I don't even think the universe owes us a why, if that makes any sense.
No, it does, and it's again, it's one of those things where I can't argue and say, oh no, there's definitely a reason why you got the world tells us the truth. It's like I'm not going to do that to you. What I will say, actually, I did want to add to something you said though. And again, I'm drawing from the Dan McClellan thing. I'll send a link in chat later to an episode. I'm not saying you have to watch it. I'm just saying I found it interesting, and there's a book recommendation within this video. The book is entitled "Religion as Make Believe," and it talks about this cognitive map, explanation for religion, and it actually does kind of map on to a lot of what you said. In the book, the author talks about the bushes and how what happened was it was those creatures who could immediately think, oh, there's a mind making that noise. They could ascribe consciousness to those sounds. They were that was kind of the beginning of this part of religion, was that sense of, the animals who survived were the ones who were able to say, oh, well, maybe there's a creature in those bushes. Maybe there's a thinking mind, and if it's thinking about coming at me. That kind of like that threat thing. It's like it's not just something out there in the world. It has a will and a purpose and a mind of its own that could choose to eat me. Or at least that's kind of how I've heard it described from people who have talked about this book.
Mm-hmm.
And related to something else you said too. What was it? You said you had first mentioned the bush thing, and then you said yes. Okay, so when it comes to death, we see someone that are gone. Our minds are used to that stimuli. We see someone, we see them acting, we see them not acting, and so even when they die, that impression still remains.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know. I think. Sorry, I do apologize.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have. I'll be honest. I don't have a whole bunch. Well, that's kind of the point of this. Is just, let's hear from all walks of life, kind of thing. You don't have to be super educated, right?
Sure.
In fact, I like it more when people at least admit that, if they don't know something. Like I'll readily admit if I don't know a particular thing. I know I seem like kind of a know-it-all sometimes.
I think what I'm more interested I'm so sorry about this. What I am more interested in at the moment is seeing how we can, maybe not get rid of religion, because I don't know if that's going to happen any time in the next 50 years. And I say that because 50 years, what that used to be such a short amount of time, but with the way we, our technology advances and the way our society moves, that's like a lifetime.
Yeah.
I do wonder how will religions change? Because I think about, for example, Judaism. There's a lot of Judaism where, obviously you have your Orthodox Jews, and they're of course religious, but you also have your Reformed Jews and other Jews who they understand that their religion is largely cultural, and that's really what religion is at its core. It's largely a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
People people can talk about their beliefs, but people will still say they're Catholic even if they're like, they don't believe in the Eucharist, they don't believe in X, Y, Z. So I guess my question is, how do you see religions adapting within the next 50 years? Assuming that more people come to this conclusion.
On current trends, I think you're going to see a lot less Western religions. I think you're going to start to see a lot more of Islam, and then Islam will start to fade.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. I wonder how it's going to change in Africa, though, because I've heard that there's a lot of Christian.
Well, as quality of living, as education rises, ignorance decreases, which would include religions.
So I'm assuming we're on the same fence, though, that banning religions in general is a bad idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've seen the socialist systems attempt that, and it's terrible. It's awful. It makes life worse for pretty much everybody. even non-religious people.
Well-
So there's no use in doing that. But
Here's
do
my
I
second
think that they
topic.
should be as far away from government as physically possible? Yes. I don't think they have
100%.
I don't think they have a right to what is it? They don't have a right to to subjugate people on the basis of their religion. I think it's wrong.
As a Catholic who's I won't say quite familiar, but pretty familiar with our history of, government control, I would probably agree with you on that. It's definitely better to have a secular hand away that's not influenced by these policies.
Mhm.
My second question for you, and you don't have to engage this if you don't want to. I know I'm taking a bit of your time. Okay, I posted a question earlier in chat. Let me.
Did he just leave? All right, hold on. Let me re-invite him. Come back up. Come on up.
I'm so sorry. It was an accident.
Okay.
I was trying
Sorry, so what were
to
you
switch to the
saying?
chat and I hit the wrong button. I wrote a prompt in the chat earlier today. It was a debate question in here. I'm just trying to find it really quick. It was I'm so sorry about this. Where is
You're good.
it?
Take your time.
It was something about authority and force because I was listening to the other gentleman you had on the line. I can't remember his name or pronounce it. He was the anarcho-capitalist.
Anarchiosis.
Yes, that's who it is.
Good guy. He was debating. He was discussing with somebody who's a lot worse faith, and a little bit of
That's
rubbed
what
off
got
on
me
him,
here
and it
discussing.
bothered me.
Yeah, no. Oh, here we go. Okay, here's what I had. I'd like to postulate that anarchy in any form is impossible with any functioning society, and that any functioning society requires force.
Yes.
I think that's at least that's. It sounds like you and I are on the same page on that, but I think that would be an interesting debate because how familiar are you with the rise of sovereign citizens in today?
Yes, I'm familiar with the rise of sovereign citizens. Do you have
All right.
also right among the sovereign citizens there was groups of First Amendment auditors as well?
Oh God.
Yeah,
they're the worst.
Here's the thing, right? I can't tell you how afraid I was and how close they got to my name.
What? They tried to dox you?
No. So they go ahead and they say, I'm a First Amendment auditor.
Oh, amender, duh. Sorry,
And I'm just
that definitely threw me off. Sorry.
And I'm just I'm sweating, right? Because I've had this name for years.
And I'm
it's about to get ruined. It's about to get sullied. I'm if I call myself yeah, I'll be screwed. Anyway, it's just a kind of a funny little,
No, definitely. No, sorry. I don't know why I thought doxing. I didn't make the connection until you said it.
You're
absolutely.
Good. I was just worried. I was worried that I would be called, that they would call themselves First Amenders. And I'm like, please don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not as stupid as you guys.
At least they went with auditor, right? They connect themselves to Scientologists.
They're just I'm a First Amendment auditor, and I'm like a First Amendment auditor.
You had to hold your breath. You're like, oh no.
I was just oh man, they're close. Oh my God.
Oh, fuck. Just to be associated with that, right?
It would have been bad.
But sorry, don't mean to take up any more of your time. I don't want to talk if I don't have anything good to contribute.
But
I really do appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to upload as many of these videos as possible. Maybe should I just upload 2 videos at a time? I don't know, maybe. Anyway, good talk, man.
Hey, you too. I hope you have a great night.
Yeah, have a great day.
Bye.
So here's the thing, right? There was somebody who, I don't know if they were spreading a rumor, but somebody, word came down the grapevine where they said, I beat First Amender in a debate, and he didn't upload the video because I beat him in a debate. And unironically, the entire debate was just arguing semantic definitions, right? So I didn't consider it interesting enough like worthy of uploading because I'm like, who's gonna watch this? It's literally just like us arguing about a definition. That's it. And so I decided to not do it. Anyway, it comes through, right? And here's what they say. They're like, oh, the reason why you didn't upload it is because you got beat in a debate. I'm like, God, I can't escape these people. So I'm just going to try to upload as many videos as I can, right? So that way we can remove that concept. Anyway, looks like we got somebody raising their hand. This will likely be our last one, unless, of course, if this is a very short one. All right, I'm going to bring in Liminal. How you doing? Liminal, you have been...
Okay.
Whoa, I remember you.
I was misunderstood.
That is misunderstood.
I just wanted to say I had
That
a video.
is crazy. I have not heard your voice in a very long time. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I just took off for a little bit. Didn't stand the drama that was going on a little bit back then through a lot of people, but I missed you. If I come up with a suggestion to watch my YouTube.
Sure. Now, did you have a particular debate topic that you wanted to discuss?
No, all I wanted to say is I missed you. And it's good to see you again.
That's cool. I missed you too. Good to have you back. Yeah, this is kind of where I hang out now, so FYI.
I hang out in just politics rooms and stuff, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rooms or servers I follow. I misunderstood. I had the maximum.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know that you can have a maximum.
There was a couple of servers that were doing fraudulent things, and my name was,
Oh, you got in trouble. Yeah, you got to be careful about the servers that you join.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. So.
I constantly curtail what servers that I go to because of that exact issue. Like I have a pretty old account, so I don't really want to lose my account, and I'm also not an extremist under any metric. So yeah.
So I made this so I can just keep on
Sounds good.
Trusted server. And I lost my Facebook.
Well, that sucks. Sorry to hear that.
It was disabled after the night after I reported a few people doing news and stuff in one of my rooms.
That sucks. Sorry to hear that.
That's okay. Have you ever heard of that happening to people?
No. Just you. Anyway, you got anything for me?
So I'm going to be taking that to federal court.
What?
I'm going to be taking that to federal court.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What? The Facebook stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You got anything for me?
My flight instructor thinks because of my religious stuff in the past and stuff that it's possibly a political reason.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about that.
Right.
Anything else?
No. Just
Good.
want to say hi.
Yeah, good to talk to you. I'm going to go ahead and move you
miss
back
me?
down to the stage. Sure, of course. I was like, where is that person? Where is Misunderstood? She's so misunderstood.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, well, yeah, good talking to you. I'm going to go ahead and move
Good
you
talking
over
to
to the
you, too. I'll
stage,
talk
okay?
to you later.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
All right. You have a great day.
You too.
All right. So I currently don't have anybody who has their hands risen, but I did see Boss PvP raise his hand. So I have room for one more debate if you want, if you're available. You available? All right. Here we go. So we're going to invite Boss PvP to the stage.
Yo.
How you doing, buddy?
Unfortunately, I don't know how much. I think we agree on more than we disagree.
Really? Was there anything that you saw in my hot takes list that you disagreed with?
Oh, I didn't see a hot take list. Where's that?
You didn't see my hot takes list?
I joined a little late.
All right. Hold on a sec. I got a hot takes list. Just for such an occasion. Just for you.
I'm sure I can find something there.
Here's the hot takes list, and I'll post it in YouTube chat as well. There you go.
Man army. Capitalism is best. Kamala is better than Trump. Capitalism better than socialism. Perform results. I guess we could spend a few minutes on why capitalism you think is intrinsically better than socialism.
Yeah. So what I look at is what I want to see is as many people as possible be able to satisfy their desires as they see fit, or just having the ability to do so, is in more pathways to pursue the things they find valuable. And the way that I've observed, like the societies that live the highest quality of living standards, as in, allowing people to do the things that they see fit, are capitalist systems with social safety nets.
Are you familiar with the idea that long-term capitalism isn't self-sustainable?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
So what's your solution for that?
Well, it would be likely that there would be another system that arrives through the material dialectic, but I don't see how socialism would be that. It is more likely that a new thesis would arrive.
Okay, so neither socialism or capitalism.
Yeah, pretty much. I postulated a concept as a technocratic oligarchy. That there would likely be an era of automation to such a point that people don't actually have to work. But it would be like basically ruled by like a handful of technocratic oligarchs that control all the labor and all of the supply chains and would just be immensely wealthy.
I mean, like
whereas
Bill
everybody
Gates.
lives. Yeah, I mean, it would just be the people that control the labor. But like there would be like effectively a UBI where nobody would have to work. People's like work would literally be leisure. Like people would only work when they feel like it.
Okay, so so I guess you imagine or you're envisioning when capitalism does eventually
Transition,
implode.
yeah. Well, transition, but yeah.
I don't know if it would look like a pretty transition. I think it would be more of like an implosion of chaos until it was really implemented. But I mean, I think your idea is viable, and I think it's kind of inevitable, even maybe. But yeah, I don't know if the transition will look pretty. I don't know about that. We'll have a lot of mass amounts of people out of work, and all the
I mean,
things
you think that
will.
like the government would be incapable of understanding how a UBI works? Like, come on. But this is, again, this is also like hundreds of years down the line, right? Like they would observe that it's like, oh, wait, people can't contribute to society. And so we would still have like a monetary system. In fact, you would literally get everything the communists wanted, but not in the way that communists like argued for it, right? Because they argued for like the workers' ownership of the means of production that then eventually leads into the classless, moneyless, stateless society. Which, I mean, basically under a technocratic oligarchy, it kind of is that, except the only difference is that there's a small handful of people that where the class is not equal and class is definitely there. It's just, people don't really have to work all that much.
Okay, so you don't think that this collapse? You said this collapse is several hundred years away. Like how many years are you thinking? How many hundred?
Maybe 150, 200 years. Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. I think it would be a lot before then.
You really think so? Why?
Well, you think it's going to take 150 years
Well,
to have
so far what I've observed is when you have people not needing to do a specific job, what actually ends up happening is that the work doesn't just like disappear. They actually just do more productive work. This has been the case through the entirety of history. But I mean, I'm assuming matter is finite and there's like a point where it has to stop, right? And so the answer would be like, okay, well then there would be a point where all needs would effectively be met, which would follow.
What I was trying to say is that I don't think it's going to take 150 years for AI to take over the way that you think it would to get us to this transitional point in economics. So if you think that this third option is potentially 150 years away due to AI, taking place in so many places. I mean, AI taking place in so many places is less than 50 years away. The idea of the majority of workers in the United States are truck drivers, and in 50 years, the majority of trucks on the road will be automated. And so this massive trend of jobs being replaced and massive volumes of the population not having jobs will cause an economic crisis. And when you say that like it'll be this pretty transition, I guess I'm trying to understand when you have half of the country's workforce.
I've seen some economic papers that talk about like the concept of automation and that transition. Again, they really don't say that they're going to lose a bunch of jobs. In fact, they just see that people become more productive.
When you say more productive, so when the truck drivers no longer drive the trucks, I understand how like there will be more technician jobs, maybe like to work on the trucks. But what are you going to do with, 30 million people that no longer have jobs and trucks to drive?
Well, first of all, it's not immediate. It would just be like a slow move, but it's kind of like what happened with cars, right? We never would have imagined like with the invention of the horseless carriage that like there would be drive-throughs, right? It was just never in the realm of imagination.
We can direct this. We can make this analogous to coal miners, right? Because coal miners were a huge part of the industrial age, and they kind of became obsolete almost overnight. And we saw how this was like really detrimental, not to just the economy.
You could just have like a government incentive to transition people. It's not hard.
Yeah, well, it sounds easy, but it's really not that easy because everyone was telling them, "Well, just learn how to code, bro."
Well, no, you don't have to do that.
That's
stupid.
It does make a lot of sense. It's not
technology. Technology would transition. Most likely, what would happen? There would just end up being more service. Even if there isn't, you could still apply a UBI and it'd be fine. You don't have to have all society collapse, and you don't end up with the workers owning the means of production.
Can you explain that acronym?
Huh?
Can you explain that acronym? UBI?
Oh, Universal Basic Income.
Oh, I see. Okay, wait. So you're for capitalism and against socialism, but for universal basic income?
Well, yeah. I mean, I understand the necessity that capitalism isn't there to stay. But like right now, the current best system that we're aware of is capitalism with social safety nets.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm a little confused.
How so?
Because I don't see how you can like. I guess you're saying the income inequality thing would only become a necessity after capitalism fails.
What?
Okay, so capitalism exists.
Yeah.
Do you believe the equal income stuff should exist right now?
No, I'm perfectly okay with an unequal society. That doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I just want people to have like their basic needs met, right? This is kind of what mostly people give a shit about.
I'm just entertain me if you don't mind. So you're okay with capitalism existing right now?
Uh-huh.
But you are okay at the point to where capitalism would no longer exist to then somehow, at whatever means.
No, I'm saying that I acknowledge that it would have to naturally move forward. Like, why would I assume historically that the mode of production would be the same forever? Like, does the entropy of the universe ever take into place? Like, eventually there will be no humans.
So socialism's not good now, but it could be good later?
No. We tried it in the 20th century. It didn't work.
So is socialism and income equality not synonymous?
Yes, those are not synonymous.
Are they? But do they not appeal to each other?
Yes. Well, one of them wants to remove the concept of class, and so the way that they do that is that they divest the ownership of the means of production from the private ruling class to the working class.
But you'd be okay with that if that
No.
meant like it sustained society after capitalism.
If it resulted in a better quality of living standard, then sure, but it doesn't.
Well, why couldn't it? If you think it could,
Because it never has. It's never shown that. We tried it in 57 countries and it failed in every single one, unless if you talk about Cuba, Vietnam, China. I don't know if you consider China to be communist. I would not say that these are successful societies. They're not societies that I would want to live in. I would want to live in societies like Norway and Denmark, the United States, the West, the UK.
Well,
I mean, these are all countries that are capitalist societies with social safety nets. And those are the highest quality of living.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was trying to get my thoughts out and kept getting distracted.
You're good, homie.
Okay, so wouldn't it be a fallacy that just because it hasn't worked thus far that it can't work, or
Certainly, it could be
work?
possible that it works, but then I would have to see that.
So when you say it doesn't work, when you compare the worst metrics of a socialist society and you compare the worst metrics of what would consider the worst metrics of a capitalistic society, would you say that one way is heavier than the other as far as...
Well, no, you want a mix. You want capitalism with social safety nets. That way the people at the bottom can actually survive. And then you don't have like multi-conglomerate, multinational corporations that can just abuse their power. And there's really cool stuff like contract law and private property rights that are really useful for a working society.
Like 60 kind of thing, like capitalism has the majority, and
I mean, I don't put a percentage on it. Whatever the policy that we're putting in, that we can empirically show that it works.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I know unions work, for example. That's proven to work. That makes people's lives better and allows people to actually negotiate their how much they get paid, and it's basically bolsters up the middle class and the poor, and so it makes life better and stops like extrapolating that money in, like, for example, right to work states where most of the money goes to up top, which is terrible.
Is the union not an example of socialism?
No, because it's not the workers' ownership of the means of production. It's just negotiating power between the companies.
Interesting. Okay, well, I think that's all I have.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you. Okay, so I think that was our last debate for the week. Guys, I really appreciate you. The worst. Yeah, man. I'm really glad that y'all joined. If you have not, subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would say do so, because I am, in fact, repping Modern Day Debate. I am making sure that more people show up to Modern Day Debate as a result of these YouTube videos. So if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would recommend to subscribe. I'll go ahead and provide it right here. .com. And I do this every week, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, anybody can join in. If you guys disagree with a particular position that I hold, all you got to do, you show up, and I'm going to go ahead and platform you. I really appreciate y'all for joining, and have yourself a great day. How do I end it? How do I end it? There we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop recording now. Thank y'all.